System of American series and the Rebirth of America. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26, Honest Boy. Friday afternoon. The classroom where the mathematical Olympiad team was. Find a 3-digit odd number. The sum of the digits is 12, the 3 digits are different, and the difference between the first 2 digits is equal to the difference between the last 2 digits. Owen asked, Katie? Katie. What? Katie stared at Owen, but her mind was already empty. Regina George's words looking at the moon in a convertible and calling people sweetie kept echoing in her mind. She didn't hear what Owen said at all until Owen raised his voice and reminded her again and again, and then she came back to her senses. Oh. Katie was gifted and had the same pictorial memory ability as Sheldon. Although her mind was blank, she recalled the scene when Owen asked the question. She listened again, took a pen and calculated on paper, and got the answer. It's 741. Correct. Owen looked at Katie deeply and reminded her, although the answer is correct, it has exceeded the time limit. In the competition, if you can't answer it in the first time, even if you know the correct answer, you will lose. Sorry. Katie apologized. Okay, it's getting late, let's stop here today. Owen raised his hand to check the time, clapped his hands and laughed. Okay. The African boy said proudly, it's the weekend again, we can go out to have fun tonight. Haha. Owen smiled faintly and said nothing. The African guy's smile froze and he said with a smile, Owen, you are the captain. For the sake of everyone's happiness, are you okay? Yes, Captain. Regina George's house is holding a grand party tonight. Take us there to play. Without you, we can't get in. The other 2 male team members also echoed. Katie forced a smile and said, Owen, did Regina invite you too? Yes. Owen nodded and said, but I refused. Recently, Aunt Lisa has some opinions about my participation in such parties, so I basically don't participate anymore. Don't. The African guy said excitedly, this opportunity is so rare. We all depend on you, the captain. The competition will start next weekend. As the captain, you should always find a way to let us relax and boost morale, right? Captain. X2 inches. Owen frowned and pondered, okay, I will take you to relax tonight, but I am only responsible for taking you in. The rest depends on you. After tonight, you have to concentrate and prepare for the competition next weekend. If anyone performs poorly in the preliminaries, don't blame me for kicking him out of the team. Okay. No problem. Oh. Captain, just watch. The 3 African guys smiled obscenely and even imitated the wolf howl. Go back and change your clothes. See you at George's door at 7 o'clock. Do you hear me? Owen scolded with a smile. Yes, sir. X3. The 3 African guys left in high spirits. Katie, are you worried? After watching the 3 people leave, Owen looked at the silent Katie. Owen, can I ask you a question? Katie blurted out. Okay. Owen nodded and smiled. Are you Regina's ex-boyfriend? Katie asked. No. Owen shook his head and said, but we did have an intimate relationship, if that's what you want to ask. Katie said sadly, then are all your legendary stories true? Owen nodded and said, yes. Katie was silent for a while, and looked up for a long time, and said bitterly, why didn't you lie to me? I can't help it, I'm such a straightforward person. Owen teased, actually, this is nothing. I'm not afraid to tell you the truth. I am an extreme non-marriageist. I am only prepared to have a passionate love affair once in my life, and you also know the other party. A passionate love affair. Katie pressed, I know him. Who is he? Owen smiled and said, mathematical science. Katie was speechless and said, Owen, don't joke. I'm not kidding. Owen said sincerely, you like mathematics too. You should know that many mathematicians are alone. They devote all their energy to being devoutly in love with mathematical science. When they reach the 3 years of pain, the 5 years of coldness, the 7 years of itch, and the 10 years of hurt, they will go out to look for inspiration, to reconcile and sublimate this relationship. Only in this way can they achieve a 50-year golden wedding, a 70-year platinum wedding, and even a lifetime of knowing each other and staying together. So it's time for you to find inspiration. Katie was so smart that she immediately caught a loophole in Owen's words and said dissatisfiedly, If your legendary stories are all true, then I really don't know how you can count the time you spend on so many girls as inspiration time, and the remaining time as all your energy. Ahem. Owen coughed dryly and smiled. I was still young and didn't know how precious my energy was. But after being scolded by Aunt Lisa, I changed my ways and put my main energy into mathematics. Katie curled her lips, obviously not believing what Owen said, but she didn't bother about it anymore. She was so simple that she couldn't imagine Owen's pass-through method of finding inspiration. She had secretly made up her mind and gave up on her own initiative. Owen was an old driver and saw through Katie's thoughts at a glance, but he didn't care. With his straightforward and frank personality and the grand vows he made, it was not suitable for him to provoke a simple girl like Katie, especially since Katie's mother and Lisa were good friends. But this didn't mean that Owen was a vegetarian. In fact, today's confession was just a routine of retreating to advance. Imagine, when Owen's true face was recognized by Katie, if she was still willing to cooperate with Owen to punch in and find inspiration, would Owen refuse? 7 o'clock in the evening. George's villa. Unlike the common American country villas, this is a real villa. The gate is supported by tall stone pillars. There is a fountain in the square in front of the gate. There are several auxiliary buildings next to the main building, showing the luxury. Boys, follow me. Owen snapped his fingers and walked to the door with the 3 African guys. Hello, please show me your invitation. The professional party service staff said politely. Oh, that's terrible. A member of the mathematical Olympiad team wailed. They had never seen such a scene before. Owen frowned and ignored the service staff. Instead, he looked into the house and saw a blonde girl. His eyes lit up and he said loudly, Karen, here. Karen Smith heard Owen's voice, looked around, and saw that Regina was not there. She ran over and smiled stupidly. Owen, you are here, come in. These are my friends. Can we go in together? Owen pointed at the 3 brothers who were almost bleeding from their noses because of Karen's running, and said with some disgust, of course. P.S. Thank you Zanayu for the reward. Chapter 27 He's a divine calculator. George's villa. Karen Smith spoke, and the receptionist naturally didn't say anything more. Owen, you're here too. As soon as they entered, Gretchen Venus came over, looked at Owen in surprise, then looked at Karen, called out, leaned close to Karen's ear, and whispered, You're going to die? Regina will be coming down soon, and you're still walking so close to Owen alone. Oh, right. Karen patted her forehead lightly. Then what should we do? Stupid. Gretchen looked at Owen again with some nostalgia, and pulled Karen upstairs. Captain, you're really awesome. Mathematical Olympiad team member A looked at Karen and Gretchen leaving together, swallowing his saliva and shouting. Yes, this is the youth royal family. God, Karen's figure is so good, if you ask me, she should be the queen of the youth royal family. Mathematical Olympiad team member B was obviously a fierce control, with his eyes full of undulating mountains and raging waves. I prefer Gretchen. She has the most exquisite and outstanding appearance, and she has a unique accent when she speaks. Mathematical Olympiad team member A admired for a while, and looked at the African boy. Kevin, what do you think? Of course it's Regina George. The African boy rolled his eyes. Have you read the novel Notebook written by Nicholas Sparks? Regina is simply the real-life version of the heroine Ellie in my mind. Owen looked at the African boy in surprise, and thought to himself, you have some taste. Captain, what do you think? Mathematical Olympiad team member A smiled very obscenely. You know the 3 of them best and have the most say. Among the 3 of them, who do you like more? Yes, Captain. Mathematical Olympiad team member B said with envy. You just need to think about who you have spent the most time with among the 3 of them, and you will know the answer. Speaking of which, Karen and I have been together the longest. Huh. I knew it. Before Owen finished speaking, Mathematical Olympiad team member B interrupted excitedly. The captain really has the same aesthetic sense as me. Vulgar. The African guy said disdainfully. Third-rate men look at the face, second-rate men look at the figure, and first-rate men know how to appreciate a woman's temperament. The key is that you can only appreciate temperament. Owen couldn't help but tell the truth. Besides, Karen is also very temperamental. She looks stupid. How can she have temperament? The African guy covered his chest and retorted in grief. Haha, vulgar. Owen sent back the original words. That's not stupid, that's innocent. And she has a magical talent that you can't imagine. Captain, what is it? Mathematical Olympiad team member B's eyes were straight. Guess. Irving laughed but didn't give the answer. He clapped his hands and reminded, "Boys, don't forget the purpose of your coming here today. You can chat anytime. Look around, there are so many girls. If you don't go and talk to them, it will be a waste of opportunity. Yes, we should go over there. Kevin, you go first. Weren't you the most active before? Why don't you dare to go up now? I'll go. Otherwise, let's go together and separate after we succeed." "Good idea, we are teammates. Since we are teammates, I think we should let the captain take us up." "Hey, where's the captain?" When the three African guys hesitated and didn't dare to go up and talk to them, Irving had already walked away. He was not their babysitter. Did he have to hand over the girls to them? "Annex building, basement, come quickly." Irving walked out of the main building and came to the ancillary building with familiarity. He went down to the basement, took out his mobile phone, and quickly edited a text message and sent it out. Regina's mother is a very special woman, claiming to be a cool mother without any rules. She not only does not restrict the wild Regina, but also encourages her in various ways and provides all kinds of help. Regina's boudoir is not the second bedroom of a normal family, but the master bedroom of her parents. This is what Regina specifically asked to change. The scene that impressed Owen very much was that when Owen came to George's house to tutor Regina, Regina's mother would open the bedroom door very enthusiastically and ask the two people who were tutoring with a smile, "What do you two need? Some snacks to replenish your energy, or a little wine to cheer you up? You don't need any of them, so what about your penis? If you need anything, tell me, God loves you." 10 minutes later, Karen Smith poked her head in and saw Owen there, with a silly smile on her face. "Have you fallen behind in your homework recently?" "I don't know." "Okay, let me do a spot check. The first question is, will it rain tonight?" "Let me see." Karen shook it carefully with her hands, tilted her head to feel it, and smiled foolishly. "It will rain, and it will rain heavily. The probability is 90%. It will rain in about 2 hours." "Okay." Owen praised, "Karen, you are really talented. After graduation, you can apply for a weather forecaster. You will definitely be very successful." "Do you really think so?" Karen was quite encouraged. She didn't even tell Regina and Gretchen about this talent, because they wouldn't care about it. On the contrary, they have too little tolerance and may even think that she is nakedly provocative. Only Owen knows how to appreciate her beauty. Of course. Owen smiled affirmatively. "With your conditions and talents, it will be easy for you to become a star among weather forecasters. I don't think many male viewers will refuse to watch your weather forecast." "Great!" Karen exclaimed in surprise. Buzz buzz. The phone vibrates. Oh. It's Regina's call. She knows you're here. She must be looking for us. What should we do? Ignore her. No, she's already a little suspicious. If she can't find us, then it's certain. And Gretchen, she will be very angry. I will be excluded. Don't worry, I will help you convince them later. Yes, I believe it. An hour and a half later. Captain, we haven't had enough fun yet. Why are we going back so early? The three African guys protested dissatisfiedly. If you want to stay, you can stay. It's going to rain heavily soon. If you don't want to be soaked, go back now. Owen walked out. How could it be? The African guy retorted, I check the weather forecast every day. It will be sunny these days. It won't rain. Believe it or not. Owen said as he walked, this is what the most accurate and charming weather forecaster told me personally. He is a divine fortune teller. I have found out and I believe it. The three African guys looked at each other, not knowing what Owen said next. P.S. Thanks to Achinand, Kissing with a Pacifier, for the reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28 Regional Finals. Downtown Chicago, Illinois, after the regional preliminary of the Mathematical Olympiad. HU. Walking out of the hall, 3 consecutive sneezes sounded, followed by the sound of sniffling. Captain, how did you know? The African boy wiped his nose with a tissue and asked with a buzzing nasal voice, the weather forecast clearly said there would be no rain. Your captain is your captain. Owen scolded with a bad face. I said it would rain, and it would rain. You didn't listen before, and you got sick for a week, and you haven't recovered yet. If it weren't for Katie's wonderful performance today, we wouldn't even be able to pass the preliminary. Captain, we were wrong. Mathematical Olympiad team members A and B apologized with sad faces. Katie, it's a good thing we have you and the captain. They just wanted to stay at the party for a while longer, waiting for that one-in-a-million opportunity. Who would have thought that half an hour after Owen left, it really started to rain heavily, and it didn't stop until they left. It rained all night, and everyone was soaked like a drowned chicken. They are all mental workers, and their bodies are delicate. They all fell ill after being caught in the rain. And to Owen's surprise, they didn't get better for a whole week. In today's preliminaries, they were all dying. You can imagine how they performed. Nothing, you are sick. Katie waved her hand and smiled. Ever since she was disgusted by the Queen Bee Regina George's sweetie, Katie has been very resistant to the youth royal trio. With Owen leading them, she didn't have to mix with them like in the original Time and Space. With her concentration, she naturally became the main force of the Mathematical Olympiad team. Today is a narrow victory. Owen said in a deep voice, next week is the semifinals. You can't drag your feet anymore. Take good care of your health during this period. If there's any problem again, I promise that your high school life in the future will be very exciting. Yes, Captain. The three African guys trembled, and didn't even have the courage to talk back, and agreed honestly. IQ activities like the Mathematical Olympiad team are elite sports, which are very rare in public high schools. Participants will be bullied by those who think they are cool, such as football, baseball, and cheerleading, because they belong to the civilian class. Before entering society, the elite class cannot suppress the civilian class in all aspects. On the contrary, at this time, the civilian class with a larger number of people will in turn oppress the elite class. This phenomenon is very common in the United States. In the 7-member group of The Big Bang Theory, Sheldon and other 5 doctors and Howard, a genius engineer, were bullied in various ways during school, and they still have psychological trauma many years later. Bernadette and Amy, especially, enjoy their friendship with the high school bully Penny, because this is something they yearn for but cannot achieve during school. The Mathematical Olympiad team of North Shore Public High School, because of the addition of Owen, there is not so much naked bullying, allowing the African trio to enjoy unprecedented peace. Sometimes Owen is in a good mood and can even take them to parties. Although they have never succeeded from beginning to end, the important thing is to participate. So the price of angering Owen is something they don't want to bear. A week later, the 3 African guys who had recovered from their illness performed exceptionally well in the regional semifinals, steadily defeated their opponents, and entered the regional finals. Their opponent was Carmel High School. Finals day. Clap, clap, clap. Owen clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Okay, after several months of training, it all depends on tonight. The opponent is the famous Carmel Private High School. They will be the strongest opponent we have ever encountered. In this battle, we must go all out and win the Illinois Regional Finals Championship. Champion. X4. They are all highly intelligent talents. Although Owen didn't say it, they all knew that the regional finals would be their end point. They had no chance at all in the national competition because they were just talented talents, and there was a world of difference between them and real geniuses. A very simple example, when they were competing, they still needed to use paper and pen to do simple quick calculations, but geniuses like Sheldon always did mental arithmetic directly. Calculators and the like were completely meaningless to them at this stage. They could report the answers to extremely complex calculations in one breath. Not to mention, for geniuses like Sheldon, their learning progress cannot be measured by grade. Although they are still in high school, their knowledge is far beyond any high school teacher. They are not at the same level as Owen and others. Let me ask, is there any chance of winning against such geniuses? Try hard. Owen also clenched his fists, feeling heavy in his heart, because he had a system. When he saw the opponent from Carmel High School, he had already seen the opponent's intelligence through the system. 4 people like Owen have the same level 4 intelligence, but the captain of the other team has a genius level 5 intelligence. Although there is a difference of 2 levels, far inferior to Sheldon's level 5+, it still puts Owen under great pressure. Inside the auditorium, behind 2 rows of opposing debate tables stood 5 players from each side. In front of the large screen in the middle, A host took the microphone and started the discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Welcome to the Illinois Mathematical Olympiad Regional Finals. Now, let's start with the first question. There are two numbers. 2 times the larger number minus 3 is 5 times the smaller number. The sum of 4 times the larger number and 3 times the smaller number is 71. What are these two numbers? Beep. Beep. The two answer buttons were pressed almost at the same time. Carmel High School. The host looked at Carmel High School, which was a little faster. In the 5-member team of Carmel High School, the captain standing in the middle, a handsome white boy, looked at Owen with disdain and answered, 14 and 5. Correct. The host affirmed. Next question. This kind of competition is not only about intelligence, but also about physical strength and energy. Although Carmel High School has a captain of level 5, in the nearly 90-minute high-intensity competition, both players are a little exhausted, and the captain of the other team is even worse. Owen's original endurance is level 2+, and he has the alternative blessing effect of skill 1. His energy is much stronger than that of a normal person. He maintains the best state throughout the whole process and has agile thinking. In the last stage, he answered questions successfully one after another, tied the score in one fell swoop, and entered the death elimination stage. Carmel High School also has a female player. After Owen's observation, although the opponent is not bronze, she is too far away from the king. Seeing the expression of the captain of the other team flirting with her from time to time when they start to lead by a large score, it is obvious that the captain of the other team is pretending to be cool and wants to help her score. We choose contestant Croft. As soon as Owen said this, the other team panicked. The female contestant Croft looked at their captain eagerly. The captain of the other team looked at Owen hatefully and said through gritted teeth, "We also choose their female contestant. P.S. Thank you Mr. Bai for the reward." Chapter 29 Glee Club. Regional Finals. Death Elimination Round. Caroline Krafko from Carmel High School and Katie Helen from North Shore High School, please step forward. The host announced. Caroline Krafko hesitantly moved out from behind the debate table, while Katie confidently walked to the center. The staff had already arranged a pair of floor microphones here. The two girls stood face to face, looked at each other, and then turned their heads away, listening to the host's questions with different thoughts. Contestants, please give the limit value of this formula. As soon as the voice fell, a formula for the limit value appeared on the big screen in the middle. Beep. Katie looked up and immediately realized that this limit value did not exist, and decisively pressed the answer button. This limit does not exist. Correct. The host announced, our champion has been decided, and that is North Shore High School. Yes. The African boy was very excited. He ran to the Carmel High School Mathematical Olympiad team, tore off his shirt, pointed at the livid captain of the Carmel High School Mathematical Olympiad team, and started dancing and singing, and began to sing the classic black rap, "Do you like me now? Do you like this? Yes. Come on. Let's go, Captain, you still have other competitions, there is no need to fight with this kind of villain." The Carmel High School team members grabbed the captain who wanted to step forward and take action. Yes, Jesse, we still have a competition. Our opponent, the New Direction Choir, is also from North Shore High School. We can teach them a lesson and let them know how powerful our dream choir is. A group of men and women in uniforms came up and consoled him. Jesse, you are the 4-time national champion of the choir. They are just a bunch of losers. They took advantage of your distraction from singing and dancing to win a game. In the future, they may not even have the chance to appear in front of you. Why bother with them? Humph. Jesse Kratt, the captain of the Mathematical Olympiad team of Carmel High School, looked much better after being comforted by his companions. He snorted coldly, pointed his finger at the African boy, and then pointed at Owen heavily. He returned to his previous arrogance and left the auditorium surrounded by the crowd. In his eyes, the African boy was just a clown. The one who really defeated him was Owen, or rather, Owen and himself. If it weren't for his lack of energy and Owen's continuous answering in the later period, he would have successfully helped his sister score higher. You are still so arrogant even after losing. The African boy complained indignantly. Classmates, don't worry about these things. Just remember that we won. Now let's enjoy the joy of victory. Mary Beth Mickrick, the female math teacher leading the team at North Shore High School, clapped her hands and laughed. Ms. Mickrick is right. Owen echoed, no matter how nice they say, there is one person who disagrees. Huh? Everyone looked at Owen. Our regional finals championship medal. Owen picked up the medal on his chest and waved it vigorously. Ha ha ha. The joke that Leonard made fun of Sheldon in the future was also very funny at this time. Classmate Owen is so funny. Mary looked at Owen with appreciation and suggested, our school's new direction choir has also passed the group stage. Tonight, they will compete in the regional finals with the Adrenal Choir of Carmel High School. Let's go and cheer for them, okay? Okay. X5. Everyone shouted in unison. Let's go. The African boy took the lead and walked towards the next auditorium in high spirits. Owen and Mary fell behind. Mary looked ahead and saw that they were a little far away. She turned her head to look at Owen. Coincidentally, Owen was also looking over. The two looked at each other and suddenly smiled at each other. Owen, you must work harder in math class in the future. You can't slack off just because you won the championship, otherwise I will make you stay after class. Mary smiled meaningfully. Teacher, you make it difficult for me. Owen raised his eyebrows and said with a twinkling look. Huh? Mary was puzzled. Owen joked, should I stay after class, or stay after class, or stay after class? He. Mary giggled, stretched out her hand and patted Owen lightly, and said meaningfully, I have heard of your great name. Staying after class is not good for your reputation. If you really relax in your studies, I will tutor you personally. Thank you, teacher. Owen was shocked and patted his chest. Sure, teacher, don't worry. If I slack off, I will go to the teacher for tutoring in person without the teacher's urging. I still know the address of the teacher's home. How did you know? Mary paused and stood there in a daze. She asked subconsciously, but after looking at Owen's smile, she shook her head and laughed for a long time. You are really too smart. This is an intuition. Owen laughed, just like you teachers have been teaching for a long time, and you can tell who is a good student, who is a bad student, and how bad the bad students are. Teacher my Gia, Owen. Owen was busy talking to Mary and making witty remarks. He had fallen behind too much without realizing it. Katie outside the door couldn't help but raise her voice to remind him. Here we are. The two smiled at each other and walked over quickly. The auditorium next door. Unlike the sporadic audience of the Mathematical Olympiad, the huge seats were almost full of audiences. The lights and band on the stage were in place, ready to start at any time. Will, Emma. Mary, are you done? Will Schuster, the leader of the New Direction Choir, and Emma Pillsbury, the school counselor who pays close attention to the choir, greeted with surprise. How was the result? We won. The students performed very well, especially Owen and Katie. Mary sat down next to Emma and introduced with a smile, if it weren't for Owen's hard work, we would have given up directly. The captain of the other team is definitely a real genius. Only a private high school like Carmel can have such a student. Later, the two sides tied in score and entered the death elimination. It was Katie who defeated the opponent in one fell swoop, allowing North Shore High School to win the regional finals. That's great. Emma congratulated sincerely, and Will Schuster's smile was a little forced. He couldn't help but look back at Owen in the back row and gave Owen a warning look. Back row. Katie sat next to Owen and kept an eye on him. Naturally, she saw Will Schuster's warning look and Owen's reassuring look. She couldn't help but ask, Owen, what's wrong? Nothing. Owen shrugged. Katie curled her lips and didn't ask any more questions. In fact, there was no need to ask any more questions. When the New Direction Choir of North Shore Public High School came on stage, she saw the dynamic girls in it, especially the blonde beauty with an extremely delicate and beautiful face. She understood everything. Chapter 30 Tribute to the Boss. On the stage. Under the spotlight. Faithfully oh. Faithfully I'm still yours, I'm forever yours, ever yours faithfully. As a black-haired girl sang with full penetration, the other 11 men and women swayed their bodies and sang in unison, high or low. The New Direction Choir of North Shore High School gave people a special touch. Puff. Katie took out a bottle of water and drank a sip to moisten her throat, but her eyes were fixed on the girls on the stage who were dressed in golden short skirts and dancing freely. When the blonde beauty revealed her true body while the girls were dancing, the water in her mouth suddenly sprayed out. Sorry. SHH. The one who was sprayed happened to be Will Schuster, the instructor of the New Direction Choir. He didn't care about being sprayed with water at all, but put his finger to his mouth to make a gesture of silence. Katie nodded repeatedly with an apologetic look on her face. Seeing Owen still smiling at her, Katie opened her mouth and wanted to say something loudly, but thinking of Will Schuster's reminder, she had to swallow her words reluctantly. She looked up at the blonde girl with a bulging belly, dancing and singing there. Finally, she couldn't help it, took out a pen and paper from her school bag and wrote quickly. "Oh, my God." 3 exclamation marks represented Katie's shock. "Don't tell me that she is pregnant with your child." Owen took the pen and paper and looked at it, then laughed and wrote on it with a pen, "Of course not. How can you be sure?" Katie rolled her eyes and said, "Isn't she one of your inspirations?" "She is." Owen took the pen and paper again and wrote, "But it's definitely not mine, I can be sure of that." After writing, the pen and paper were taken away by Katie, and Owen calmly and skillfully took out an envelope from his shirt pocket and handed it to Katie, motioning her to read it. Puff. When Katie saw it, she almost vomited again, but this time it was blood. Inside the envelope was a very formal printed document, which belonged to St. Grace Hospital in Chicago and was dated 4 months ago. The heading of the document read, "Owen Lee's Scientific Experiment Report." Looking down, the doctor's diagnosis was, rare congenital deficiency, with no other abnormalities. If needed in the future, it is recommended. "Are you serious?" Katie could hardly describe her current mood in words. "Of course." Owen affirmed, "How could I joke about such a thing? But it doesn't matter, you know my values and life pursuits. This congenital disease may be a revelation from God. I am destined to take an unusual path. Is that why you carry it with you?" Katie said disdainfully, "What do you think? Today is the regional finals of the Mathematical Olympiad. Shouldn't you focus all your energy on this? It's just a habit, just like most men wear watches, suits and ties." Owen explained, "You know, when you go out, safety is the most important thing. It's better to be prepared." Katie was completely speechless this time. She looked at Owen as if she was looking at a scumbag, and this scumbag's scum is so fresh and refined, and the scum has reached a new level. Ahem. Owen was a little embarrassed by Katie's gaze, and he coughed lightly and said, "Actually, I'm just paying tribute to the big boss. The source of this inspiration comes from Steve Jobs. Do you know him? The founder of Apple, a famous billionaire." "Of course I know." Katie's curiosity was aroused by Owen's words again. "Good." Owen smiled slightly. Before Apple went public, Jobs was already quite wealthy, but he denied that his ex-girlfriend gave birth to his daughter Lisa, and refused to pay only $350 a month in child support. He also kept emphasizing that he was infertile. Later, the court forced a paternity test, and Jobs later gave birth to 3 more children, which confirmed his lies. However, this big man's wild imagination still gave me enough inspiration. At this point, Owen stuffed the certificate back into the envelope, put it back into his jacket pocket, and shrugged, "Although the big man lied, my certificate is 100% true. For this reason, I went to different hospitals and made repeated diagnoses many times." "So you always carry this with you?" Katie said expressionlessly, "Throw it in the faces of your inspirations in advance to tell them how safe you are. There is also a benefit, that is, if something really happens to the person on the stage, don't come to you, because it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It really saves money, trouble and worry. I was born to be useful." Owen was quite proud and subconsciously blurted out an idiom. Although the success stories of various bigwigs cannot be drunk, it is still very valuable to abandon the chicken soup, carefully explore the various unusual behaviors of the bigwigs, and absorb the nutrients for growth from them. At the very least, Owen's genius move not only made him more popular, but also the girls who appeared in groups of 3 or 2 consciously faced the wall, excluded Owen, and counted on their fingers to figure out the real murderer. "Have you considered her boyfriend when you did this?" After a long time, Katie sighed faintly. "He." Owen shook his head and laughed. "You just entered school not long ago, it's normal that you don't know her. Her name is Quinn Fabray, she is the captain of the cheerleading team, and her boyfriend, or ex-boyfriend, is the male lead singer Finn Hudson above, the captain and quarterback of the North Shore High School football team. The two of them were once recognized as the school's first couple." "Then what?" Katie waited for Owen's shameless reason. "Quinn comes from a Catholic family." Owen said slowly, "So she is also the president of the school's abstinence club. When she got pregnant, she told her ex-boyfriend Finn that it was because they had taken a bath together before. The innocent beast Finn actually believed it. It's not you, and it's not him, so who is it?" Katie murmured. "Did you see the boy above who looks like a bad boy?" Owen pointed to a boy on the stage and smiled. His name is Noah Parkman, also a member of the football team, Finn's good buddy. He is the real boss. How could this happen? Katie sighed. This is really too bloody. This is the norm for romance among American high school students. Owen laughed, just like when Quinn asked Noah Parkerman, "You are Finn's good brother." Noah's answer was shameless but true. 3 years later, who'll remember who Finn is? Life is a series of experiences. You won't be praised for being a good girl. As long as we are secretive enough, no one will get hurt. How do you know these words? Haha, secrets give way to more private secrets. P.S. Thanks Trajan, Yippee, Figo Optimism, and book friend 141,502,311,162 for their rewards. Chapter 31 Anger Rising from the Heart. In the audience, Katie was completely speechless. Mary in the front row smiled back at Owen and gave him a thumbs-up sign. It was obvious that she had heard the second half of what Owen and Katie had whispered to each other without writing it down on paper. Owen smiled back brightly, and felt that Mary was young and energetic, with a more active and open mind, and knew how to look at his behavior dialectically, instead of being shocked and disdainful like Katie. That's right, after all, Mr. Mygia is only in his 20s, not even 30. Owen thought clearly. Any way you want it, that's the way you need it. Any way you want it. She loves to laugh. She loves to sing. She does everything. She loves to move. She loves to groove. She loves the love in things all night. At this time, the New Direction choir on the stage finished singing the first song, faithfully, and then sang the second song, the more dynamic Any Way You Want It. Even Owen, an outsider, felt his heart buzz and goosebumps. He couldn't help but pat his thighs with his hands, and his mouth opened and closed to follow the dynamic melody and lyrics. His body had an urge to dance. Songs and melodies are sometimes very touching, especially when performed live by those musical and artistic geniuses. The impact is even more surging. No wonder so many people chase stars and sell everything they have to go to live concerts. Owen smiled to himself and murmured, "This is indeed an art. Maybe I should learn a few tricks." With this thought, Owen was shocked and his mind was immediately divergent. Learning an art is definitely not against the ambition of being a top scientist. On the contrary, it is precisely a way to pay tribute to the scientific giants. Albert Einstein, a scientific giant, is well known for his scientific achievements, but he is also an excellent violinist who can play Beethoven's piano, violin and cello trios with others. He once said, "Death means that I will never hear Mozart's music again." German physicist Planck, the pioneer and founder of quantum physics and the winner of the 1918 Nobel Prize in Physics, in addition to his scientific achievements, is also a semi-professional pianist in his spare time. Einstein often played with him. There are many such big men who are both scientists and artists. What makes Owen agree more and more is that almost everyone in the future Good Friends, the 7 members of the Big Bang Theory, can play the cello. Leonard Hofstadter can play the cello in a mysterious way. After playing, he can make Leslie Winkle, who had no interest in him before, admire his skills very much and stay to play with him with great interest. In terms of dancing, Leonard is also very talented. His prelude dance, which is selfless and extremely hard-working, has been unanimously recognized by his previous girlfriends. Although most of his ex-girlfriends only recognize his efforts, he is indeed very, very hard-working. Howard Wolowitz, wearing Korean tights, is a frequent visitor on the dance machine. He can beat the drums and imitate the computer-synthesized voices of Nicolas Cage, Al Pacino, Hawking, and other voices vividly. Of course, he is best at imitating his mother's voice. He can also compose and write songs. He played impromptu for Bernadette at the Cheesecake Factory. He dedicated his own song to Bernadette on the anniversary and arranged for everyone to sing together. Rajesh Kuthrapalli, an Indian, is good at singing and dancing. When the music starts, he can sing all kinds of dances and divine songs. Even Sheldon Lee Cooper is versatile. Not to mention that he had absolute pitch when he was a child and can play the tambourine that makes Leonard wail in the middle of the night. He can also play the recorder, guitar, piano, and the weird theremin that he plays and sings Nobody Know. Bernadette Ruskowski can do ventriloquism and has participated in the state-level Miss. She is also very cool with her I Want It. Amy Phillip Fowler can also play the harp. That is, Penny still knows nothing and relies entirely on the charm of the protagonist's luck. Fortunately, Penny still has an idea in her mind. That's why when Leonard was doubtful about whether they could continue, She panicked and shouted to Leonard, "This is not funny. The reason we can be together is because of your inexplicable obsession with me." Thinking divergently here, Owen's mouth curled up, and he secretly made up his mind that in a few years, when he goes to college, the existence points he got from Sheldon should be enough to improve his intelligence to level 5. By then, he will have enough intelligence to improve himself comprehensively. Pa pa pa. Wow. A burst of applause and screams interrupted Owen's thoughts. When he came to his senses and looked carefully, he saw that the 12 members of the New Direction Choir had finished singing and were holding hands to take a bow. Next, welcome to the Adrenal Choir from Carmel High School. After the host announced the show, the curtain opened and a familiar figure came into Owen's sight. It was Jesse Kratt, who had just competed with him for the regional finals of the Mathematical Olympiad. He was dressed in a red shirt and black pants, and with the cooperation of his companions, he sang the lead singer freely. Even though Owen was somewhat annoyed by the other party's arrogance, he had to admit that Jesse Kratt was indeed capable of arrogance. Not only was his intelligence as high as level 5, but his singing and dancing skills were also very impressive. Just killed a man, put a gun against his head, pulled my trigger, now he's dead. What made Owen narrow his eyes was that Jesse on the stage obviously saw him. While singing and dancing, he suddenly stretched out his hand and pointed in his direction. The lyrics he sang were also very meaningful. When he sang "Pulled My Trigger," the other party also made a gesture of pulling the trigger, which was extremely provocative. MMP. Owen cursed inwardly. It's just a regional finals champion, and it's not over yet. How can you be so petty? Although he was very unhappy, he understood it in an instant, because people with high intelligence do not mean that they are also magnanimous. On the contrary, because their intelligence is far superior to that of ordinary people, they will form a kind of stubbornness in the eyes of ordinary people, and all kinds of negative emotions are stronger than ordinary people. For example, Sheldon Lee Cooper, he has always been proud of his IQ of 187, but after meeting a genius who is smarter and younger than him, he is very twisted, so that when Leonard and others used the honey trap to make the genius fall, Leonard and others felt guilty, but Sheldon said with a clear mind, "He deserves it. Who made him so weak?" This is not an exception. There are many such people in the scientific community, such as the great scientist Newton and the great inventor Edison, who are recognized as typical examples of extremely bad character. But understanding is understanding, and it is still unpleasant, especially Jesse on the stage, who is still making various provocative movements towards him, and Owen's anger is gradually rising. P.S. Thanks to Link Zhuang, Bai Xiaoi, and Jin Haiming for the reward. Chapter 32, Inner Drama Explodes. Backstage. At North Shore Public High School, after the New Direction Choir bowed, the 12 members were very excited. Great. Wow. Oh, my God. Second place is secure. Although one of the judges hated them very much and threatened to destroy them, which made them depressed to the point of doubting their lives, they were conquered by their own performance after they really went on stage and performed beyond their level. They were all excited, and that was the desire for their dreams. Among them, the female soloist Rachel Berry shouted confidently, "What nonsense, we are definitely the champions." Quinn. A woman suddenly appeared and called out to Quinn Fabre, who was pregnant. "Mom." Quinn turned around in surprise. "Why are you here? Is Dad okay?" Her family is a Catholic family with strict rules. Quinn used to be the pride of the family, but since it was revealed that Quinn was pregnant before marriage, Quinn's father lost face in the church circle, and a cold war began between father and daughter. She was also expelled from the family. Now when she saw her mother appear with a haggard face, her first reaction was that her father had an accident. "I came here to see you sing." Quinn's mother covered her mouth and said excitedly, "I left your father. He cheated on me with a tattooed girl. I kicked him out of the house. I want to take you home. I can turn the living room into a nursery." "Quinn, say something." "My sheep, my water broke." As soon as these words came out, everyone was in a panic and pushed Quinn out in a cart. Everyone left, only Rachel Berry stayed, standing in a corner of the stage, quietly watching the Adrenal Choir performing on the stage, but her thoughts had already flown away, looking back on the journey she had come along. "My name is Rachel Berry. I come from a gay family. I have 2 fathers who love me very much and have cultivated my artistic talent since I was a child. I took dance classes, vocal lessons, and any courses that would allow me to be competitive. I work hard every day and schedule my schedule tightly. I will post my daily practice videos online so that I can maintain the growth of my talent and fame. In this world, fame is everything, and fame will not fall on my head for no reason, so I need to work extra hard. But it has not been smooth. Almost no one watches my videos, except those hateful cheerleaders, but they just want to laugh at me and leave the most vicious comments. That's right, everyone accompanied Quinn to the hospital to wait for the baby in her belly to be born, but I didn't want to go. In the past, it was Quinn, the cheerleader, who bullied me the most. But I was very generous. Since we became teammates in the choir, I have forgotten these unpleasant things. Well, at least I gave up most of them, but if I had to choose to accompany Quinn to give birth to a child, or stay, examine the opponent, and wait for the results of the regional finals, I only have one choice. Maybe you think I'm a little selfish, but please, I'm just a person who works hard for my dream. For this day, I have worked hard for so many years, while Quinn only worked hard for one night. I am the lead singer of the choir, and she is just a chorus. I like to put a gold star after each signature, because I believe that I will become a star in the future. When Mr. Schuster took over the choir and posted the registration form, I signed up almost immediately. Sure enough, with my talent and years of hard work, I shocked Mr. Schuster in the audition. In his eyes, I am the worthy lead singer of the choir. This also proves how stupid and unfair it was for the former choir instructor to give up the lead singer position to someone else, and it also proves that I was right to secretly report the former instructor for harassing students. With the efforts of Mr. Schuster, the choir was finally established. I never thought that Finn Hudson would join. He was the captain and quarterback of the school football team. He and Quinn were a celebrity couple. He was very handsome. I admit that I like him very much, but the real reason is that he has a good voice and sings very well. He can be my best partner. Well, that's it. Unfortunately, he is Quinn's boyfriend. Only God knows how sad I was when I learned that Quinn was pregnant with Finn's child. Only God knows how happy I was when Finn learned that Quinn was not pregnant with his child, but knows. God is fair. After so many years of my devout efforts, he finally blessed me and made Finn not only my partner, but also my boyfriend. Together, we are the best couple and the well-deserved male and female lead singers of the choir. As Quinn's belly gradually swelled, she lost her beautiful figure that she was proud of before, and was kicked out by the cheerleading team. She was immersed in the choir's chorus. I almost forgot her existence behind me. But one day, her singing suddenly overwhelmed me and attracted everyone's attention. Under the leadership of Mr. Schuster, everyone clapped crazily, as if she had returned to the top again. However, this time, she did not rely on her beauty, figure, popularity and the status of cheerleading captain, but on her identity as a singer that I was most proud of. Oh my God, only God knows how shocked and terrified I was at that time. That night, I couldn't sleep and thought about it all night. The next day, I took the initiative to find Quinn and confessed my feelings to her, hoping to be good sisters, because I wanted to know how she broke through. I know her talent. It is definitely not as good as mine, and she has not worked 1/10 as hard as I have. But why has her singing changed so much in just 1 month? Many high notes that she could never sing before can now be sung so easily. I pestered her for a long time, but she always hesitated to speak. I knew she must have some unique way, but she refused to share it. How selfish. So selfish. I am not doing this for myself, but for the entire choir. Fortunately, her belly is getting bigger and bigger. Although her singing level has shocked everyone, Mr. Schuster will not let her be the lead singer. We are still high school students. Can you imagine a high school student with a big belly, exposed in front of all the parents without any cover? My crisis has been resolved temporarily. On the stage and under the spotlight, I am the most dazzling star. Just as Rachel Berry's inner drama exploded, the adrenal choir also finished singing, and the 4 judges walked into the selection room. After discussing, they walked out and began to announce the results of the regional finals. The runner-up is the auditory shock choir. The champion is the adrenal choir. How could this be? Rachel Berry's tears fell. Chapter 33. I have a bold idea. On the stage. Wow. Yes. We are the champions. The members of the adrenal choir of Carmel High School embraced each other enthusiastically and shouted to vent their excitement. Yes, they were excited. Although they have always been the strongest choir in the region and even a strong contender for the national championship, they still knew that tonight, on this stage, the New Direction choir performed beyond their level and was definitely a strong competitor. They had no idea who would be awarded the championship. It was precisely because of the uncertainty and possible failure that the Adrenal Choir was so excited after the results were announced. How could this happen? We failed and didn't even get a place. The members of the New Direction Choir who rushed back from the hospital murmured in frustration. Will Schuster took the participation consolation trophy given by the organizing committee of the competition with a wry smile. Looking at the small and ugly consolation trophy in his hand, and then looking at the huge championship and runner-up trophies that needed to be held with both hands, anger surged in his heart. Shameless conspiracy. Shameless revenge. Even if we can't win the championship, our performance tonight is definitely better than the runner-up. Sue Sylvester, you've gone too far. Sue Sylvester is the female coach of the North Shore High School cheerleading team and a legendary coach in Illinois. She has won so many trophies that she can't even fit in a room. She has always despised Will's New Direction Choir, thinking that they are all losers, and has spared no effort to attack and destroy the New Direction Choir. This time, as a celebrity in Illinois, Sue Sylvester is also one of the 4 judges. Before the game, she told everyone in the New Direction Choir bluntly, "I will destroy you." Rachel Berry wiped the tears from her face and turned around and ran out. St. Grace Hospital. Quinn Fabry was resting in bed, in good spirits. Giving birth is not a big deal in Europe and the United States. There are not so many rules. Many women still work as usual with a big belly. After giving birth, they take a short break and then go back to life and work. Rachel, you're here. How was the result of the competition? We lost. Rachel stood in front of the bed, staring at Quinn, gritting her teeth, and said word by word, "We lost completely. We didn't even get the runner-up. Are you happy?" Quinn smiled helplessly. "I'm also a member of the New Direction Choir." "We lost? How could I be happy?" "Rachel, are you still blaming me for not telling you any unique training methods? Isn't it?" Rachel said angrily, "If you make the method public, our level will be higher. How could we lose so badly? There is no special method at all." Quinn said guiltily, "You are also a singer. If there is such a method, don't you know it?" "No." Rachel shook her head and said, "You must have a unique method, otherwise it is impossible to explain your sudden breakthrough during that period. No one can break through casually, and it is an improvement of that magnitude. I have always had a sixth sense, and you have seen it." Quinn's face suddenly turned black. At that time, she deceived Finn and wanted him to take the blame and become the legitimate father of her child. It was going smoothly, but Rachel was keenly aware of her ambiguity with Noah and exposed the matter, causing a series of troubles later. Although she chose to forgive Rachel after self-examination, Quinn was still very unhappy to be reminded by Rachel in this way. "Are you sure you want to know?" Quinn sneered in her heart, but her face showed a guilty and hesitant expression. "Sure." Rachel was overjoyed, grabbed Quinn's hand, and said excitedly, "As long as there is a way to improve our strength, I am willing to make every effort. Just tell me." "This is also my guess." Quinn whispered, "But you have to promise me not to tell anyone." "Okay." Rachel hurriedly swore and promised, and the righteousness she had before disappeared instantly. She wished she could enjoy this unique singing practice method alone. In her heart, stars have always been rare, and the New Direction Choir can only accommodate one star, that is her Rachel Berry. "Well, I'll tell you." Quinn lowered his head with a strange look in his eyes, put his mouth close to Rachel's ear, and whispered softly. As Quinn spoke, Rachel's face changed again and again. "Impossible." Rachel opened her mouth wide and said in shock, "How could there be such a way to practice singing, Owen Lee? He really? How could it be possible?" "This is also my guess." Quinn shrugged and said, "Believe it or not, but don't tell anyone." "Yes." Rachel nodded in a trance, and then asked in surprise, "Then your child?" "No." Quinn shook his head and said, "What are you thinking? The child is Noah's, there is no doubt about it." "Yes, yes." Rachel nodded and said, "Your singing voice has only improved in the past few months. You were already pregnant at that time." She stopped talking here, feeling that something was wrong. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Quinn looked at Rachel meaningfully. Rachel opened her mouth and wanted to give a positive answer, but then she remembered that she had a boyfriend, Finn, and suddenly she couldn't speak because of her guilty conscience. Quinn laughed, saying everything. Finn was originally her boyfriend. She wanted to see what Rachel would do. The auditorium. Rachel returned here in a daze. The crowd here had dispersed, and only the members of the New Direction Choir were sitting there with lost expressions. "Rachel, where have you been?" Her boyfriend Finn Hudson saw Rachel, stood up and walked to her side, asking with concern. "I went to see Quinn." Rachel lowered her head and said, "Don't be discouraged. There will be opportunities in the future." Finn knew how much Rachel valued and stubborn she was about the competition, so he put his arm around her shoulders and comforted her. Yes. Rachel's body stiffened, and she responded softly. Loser at this time, the students of Carmel High School, surrounded by Jesse Kratt, came over, winking, dancing and pointing at everyone and laughing. Rachel gritted her teeth secretly, having made a decision in her heart. She saw that Jesse's eyes were not looking at them, but at an Asian classmate. Her eyes lit up, and she secretly walked to Owen's side and whispered a few words in Owen's ear. "Huh?" Owen exclaimed softly, looked at Rachel with a strange look, then raised the Mathematical Olympiad champion trophy in front of his chest, protested and retorted, muttering to himself, "I have a bold idea." Chapter 34, The Eternal Spear. Auditorium. HMPH. Jesse Kratt saw Owen's action, snorted unhappily, walked over and said in a middle school second year, "Next year's Mathematical Olympiad, if you have a chance to enter the finals, I will not give you another chance." Yet, if our captain hadn't been distracted by the choir competition, you wouldn't have a chance to win. The members of the Mathematical Olympiad team of Carmel High School flattered. This is indeed the fact. But Owen couldn't accept such an explanation. It was really Jesse Kratt's attitude that was too bad. As if he knew Owen was the protagonist, he provoked him in various ways and added drama to himself. "Do you think you are Sheldon?" Owen complained in his heart. Sheldon may be more difficult to get along with than Jesse, but Owen has a preconceived impression, is mentally prepared, and has a system task. Sheldon's friendship is equivalent to extending Owen's life and helping Owen upgrade his personality and reach the peak of his life. Owen can naturally accept it. But who is Jesse? Nobody. Does he have such a big face to let Owen endure it again and again? Owen retorted, "Don't you think you are awesome? You have participated in the Mathematical Olympiad and joined the choir. Next year, I will also join the choir. I will make you lose your last excuse when the time comes." Jesse's face changed, and he looked at Owen in doubt. He didn't know whether Owen was just talking casually or really had this idea. If it was true, it meant that Owen, like him, also had the ability to be good at both literature and sports. This was definitely not a good phenomenon. Being good at both literature and sports is a supreme skill. When did it become so common? North Shore Public High School. Principal's office. "Student Owen, you said you wanted to form another choir." Principal Figgins said in surprise. "Yes, Principal." Owen said affirmatively. Ever since he was provoked by Jesse, the villain who is crazy about provoking him, Owen had an unprecedented desire to compete. From that moment on, he reflected on himself and found that he had been a bit lazy before. Coupled with Rachel Berry's reminder, a bold idea suddenly came to his mind, so he directly fought back, in the name of being good at both literature and sports, and challenged the self-righteous Jesse Kratt. He already had a plan for the Mathematical Olympiad, but the choir was a little frustrated. Will Schuster, the choir's instructor, had a lot of opinions about him, and he didn't want to join the New Direction Choir, so he had to come to the principal to coordinate. "Don't we have a New Direction Choir in the school? Why don't you join it?" Principal Figgins asked with a smile. "Teacher Schuster said I don't have talent." Owen smiled and said, "I don't agree, and who said you can't sing without talent? Teacher Schuster doesn't let you join the New Direction Choir." Principal Figgins' face became serious. "That's not the case." Owen told the truth. "He just asked me to try out his voice and used euphemisms to persuade me to give up." "Yet." Principal Figgins regained his smile on his face and asked in confusion, "What are you thinking? Didn't you already join the Mathematical Olympiad team? And you won the regional finals championship. Why are you still interested in the choir?" "This is what happened." Owen explained the matter and said firmly, "I am winning glory for the school, and the school should strongly support it." Principal Figgins frowned and said, "Do you know that it costs a lot to form and maintain a new choir? We are a public high school and our funds have always been tight. It is impossible for us to help you with this money. Even the monthly maintenance fee of $60 for the New Direction Choir is paid by Teacher Schuster himself." "I know." Owen smiled and said, "I can also pay the monthly maintenance fee of $60. It happens that the champion prize of the regional finals of the Mathematical Olympiad is $5,000. Each of us got $1,000, which should be enough to cover the expenses for next year. Haha. Principal Figgins laughed and felt much better, because Owen and his team won the competition, and the school also received a reward of $5,000. In this era, US dollars are still very valuable. This is just the most basic expenses. Principal Figgins kindly reminded, there are also costumes, props, transportation fees to participate in the competition, accommodation fees, etc., which is a lot of money. I know. Owen said confidently, I have asked about these. This school year, the New Direction Choir advanced all the way to the regional finals, and it cost nearly $10,000 in total. I will take care of it. Seeing that Owen had thought it through, Principal Figgins nodded and said, okay, since you have thought it through, I will not stop you. I approve it. Thank you, Principal. Owen thanked him. We can solve the funding problem ourselves, but the venue issue requires the principal to coordinate. Huh? Principal Figgins was surprised. Shouldn't you ask Will about this problem? He is the choir's instructor. That's the problem. Owen smiled. I don't plan to have the newly formed choir under the name of Mr. Schuster, otherwise he will most likely kick me out of the choir or leave me idle. What I want is to be the lead singer, so that it will be meaningful to defeat the Adrenal Choir. Principal Figgins shook his head and smiled, but the choir must have an instructor. Of course. Owen raised the corner of his mouth, so I invited Mr. Mygia to be our instructor. Coo. When Principal Figgins heard Owen mention Mary Beth McGrick, he swallowed unconsciously, picked up the water cup subconsciously, and took a big sip. Owen saw through the principal's thoughts at a glance, and was 100% sure that at this moment, Principal Figgins' mind must be constantly flashing the picture of Mary coming alluringly, shaking her hair and drinking water. It was really beautiful. Ahem. After a long time, Principal Figgins came back to his senses. Seeing Owen's half smile, his old face turned red, and he coughed dryly, changing the subject. Okay, since Teacher McGrick is willing, then I agree. At that time, I will personally negotiate with Teacher McGrick and Teacher Schuster about the venue for your two choirs. Next year, as long as your choir. By the way, what is the name of your choir? Eternal Spear. Owen smiled meaningfully. Principal, our choir is called the Eternal Spear Choir. Eternal Spear. Principal Figgins was stunned and said in surprise, is it taken from the Eternal Spear, the artifact of Odin in Norse mythology? Yes. Owen did not refute, but nodded and smiled. Legend has it that the Eternal Spear will hit its target once it is thrown. It also has the meaning of lightning and meteors, which fits my original intention of forming a new choir very well. Principal Figgins praised, what a great name. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35 Yo. The next day. School corridor. Student Owen. Mr. Schuster, is there something wrong? Student Owen, what are you thinking? Will Schuster looked dissatisfied. Why do you want to form a new band called Spear of Eternity? You should know the reason. Owen was surprised when Jesse Kratt, the lead singer of the Adrenal Choir, challenged me last time. You were there. Since I accepted the challenge, I must do what I said and do my best. Will paused, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. You were not joking at that time, Student Owen. I know you are very smart, but it is really irrational to want to be good at both literature and sports. You know, music is an art. It's okay to entertain yourself, but if you want to defeat a strong team like the Adrenal Choir, it is impossible without enough talent, and your musical talent. I know. Owen smiled brightly. Before the audition, I was mentally prepared. After the audition, it also confirmed my guess that I really don't have much musical talent. Then why did you form the Spear of Eternity Choir? And be the lead singer? Will frowned and said, you will not only fail to defeat the Adrenal Choir, but also waste our resources, leaving the New Direction Choir, which had a chance to defeat them, without enough time to practice. Is this what you want to see? The school may be able to free up another singing room, but there is only one auditorium. Once the Eternal Spear Choir is successfully formed, it will inevitably take up half of the New Direction Choir's practice time. It is not obvious at ordinary times, but more than a month before the competition, it is the critical period to maintain the competition state and break through and improve. Half of the time is unacceptable to Will Shuster, who vowed to make a full effort to compete in the national competition. Don't get excited. Owen smiled faintly. Teacher Shuster, I want to ask you a question. What question? Will took a deep breath and calmed down. Owen said, we all know how you feel about wanting to win the national championship. What I want to ask is, do you want the school to win the championship, or do you just want the New Direction choir you lead to win the championship? What do you mean? Will was stunned, then reacted, and said with a smile, you still believe in your talent and think that the Eternal Spear Choir with you as the lead singer can win the national competition? Classmate Owen, although I don't want to say it, you won't even be qualified to represent the school. Teacher Shuster. Owen said loudly, do you believe in miracles? Will frowned and said nothing. He already understood Owen's stubbornness and persistence, and pondered, how about this? North Shore High School can only send one choir, so our two choirs must have an on-campus competition at that time, and the winning team can represent the school. Why not set the time 1 month before next year's invitational competition, so that the winning team will have enough time to prepare for each game? How about it? No problem. Owen nodded and smiled. That's what I was planning. Seeing Owen so confident, Will's face changed, staring at Owen and said, Classmate Owen, I hope that both of us can compete fairly, without any malicious poaching or sabotage. It is your pride to defeat the Adrenal Choir with your own ability, isn't it? Don't worry. Owen smiled knowingly. I won't take the initiative to poach Quinn and the others, but if they come voluntarily, it's not my problem. I can't just shut them out with all their talent, right? Will's face turned pale. The reason he had a problem with Owen was because he knew the relationship between Owen and the girls in the New Direction Choir. There were 6 boys and 6 girls in the New Direction Choir. Among the 6 girls, except for the Black Pearl Mercedes Jones and the Asian Tina Zhang, the rest had a close relationship with Owen. Not to mention Quinn and the other 3 cheerleaders, even the lead singer of the New Direction Choir, Rachel Berry, who he favored the most and was the most talented, suddenly started to get close to Owen for some reason. Owen is a very smart and steady student. He said confidently in public that he wanted to defeat the Adrenal Choir. If it wasn't a momentary impulse, then there must be something he didn't know. Once Quinn, Rachel and the others all ran to Owen's side, their New Direction Choir would be disbanded directly. You know, there are very few students willing to join the choir. Every one of them is a weirdo in the school. After Will threatened Finn Hudson with his academic performance, Quinn joined the choir with the other 2 members because her boyfriend and Rachel were getting closer and closer, and started the battle to defend love. This situation was purely accidental, and the students who joined all had unique skills and good musical talents. This was simply a miracle, and the reason why miracles are called miracles is that they are almost unrepeatable. Haha. Owen admired Will's uncertain expression for a while, and then smiled slightly. Mr. Shuster, don't worry, I was kidding you. What do you mean? Will was shocked. The problem you are worried about will never happen. Owen analyzed. First of all, Rachel Berry will never join our Eternal Spear Choir. Why? Will secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Because she is Rachel Berry. Owen smiled. What she wants is absolute starlight, and in the Eternal Spear Choir, I am the absolute center. Do you think she would be willing to be a supporting role? The choir usually has 1 male and 1 female lead singer. Will asked in confusion, are you the only lead singer in your Eternal Spear Choir? Yes and no. Owen raised his lips. I am indeed the only lead singer, but the other 12 teammates are really responsible for singing. 12 female teammates. The choir must have at least 12 people to participate in the competition, but Owen is going to recruit 12 female teammates, plus him, 13 people. Because the number 12 still has a special meaning in his heart. Will shook his head and said, this won't work. No. Owen smiled faintly and said nothing. Will has too little experience, he doesn't even know there is a group called Phoenix Legend. The Eternal Spear Choir created by Owen follows the style of Phoenix Legend, with 12 extremely talented girls singing the lead, and Owen can just yo-yo-yo. The reason why he insisted on not joining the New Direction Choir was because he wanted to ensure that he was the only man in the choir. By then, who would dare to say that Owen was not the lead singer among the flowers? Stay, yo-yo to death. Besides, he can also dance. With a level 4 warrior skills exchanged from the system with rich combat experience, he can still do ordinary dances. Chapter 36 God King Level Operation. North Shore Public High School. School Practice Room. Clap. Okay, that's all for today. Will Schuster clapped his hands during today's practice. He found that the choir members were a little absent-minded. When they were about to leave, he said, "Everyone stay for a moment." "Teacher Schuster, what's up?" Everyone looked over in surprise. "I should be the one to ask that." Will said with a smile, "Classmates, are you okay? Why are you not in the right state during practice?" Finn said, "Teacher Schuster, today is the day that the Eternal Spear Choir is officially established, and they will start recruiting people soon." Haha. Will laughed, "I thought it was something else." "What does the Eternal Spear Choir recruiting have to do with you? You don't believe that with Owen's musical talent, he can really lead the Eternal Spear Choir to create miracles as a lead singer, right? It's really hard to say." Noah Parkman, a bad boy with a mohawk hairstyle, sat there diagonally, half raising his head and said, "Owen is a very weird kid. He comes from the East and has mysterious power." "Hey!" Tina Zhang, an Asian non-mainstream girl, shouted dissatisfiedly. "I've heard of his name too. Yes, a kung fu boy, a top student, and a very smart person. If he really succeeds, it means we will be eliminated. Oh my god, I don't want to suffer another tragic defeat after a surprise. It's too uncomfortable." Everyone talked about it. "Come on." Will's face gradually became serious, and he clapped his hands and shouted, "You don't really believe in some mysterious power, do you? In fact, I bet he can't even get the numbers together. The choir has always been at the bottom of the school. Think about how much effort we put in to recruit enough members. He wants to get 12 girls, and these 12 girls have to have strong enough talents to have a little hope. This is simply impossible." Quinn and the two cheerleaders looked at each other and said weakly, "It may not be possible for others, but Owen may not." "Huh?" Will was stunned. "What do you mean?" "Quinn, do you know something?" "I guessed it too." Quinn said carefully, "Owen's middle name, in addition to being a nerd and a kung fu boy, he also has the titles of the King of School Grass, the Public Enemy of Boys, and the Real. His popularity with girls is the best in the entire North Shore High School." "Not the best." Another cheerleader, Santana Lopez, said, "It's unique. According to what Mr. Schuster said, this seems to be an impossible task, but there are still miracles in the world, right? Owen is a legend. Isn't it normal for him to do miraculous things?" "Yes." The last cheerleader, Brittany Pierce, said with a big nerve, "Owen is great. If Santana hadn't stopped me from signing up, I would have wanted to go." "Bunny," Santana said speechlessly. "The two of them have the best relationship. Well, it's extremely good, so good that they can live happily without a man in their lives." So Santana, who knows how big-headed and outspoken Brittany is afraid that Brittany will say something shocking. Will looked at Santana with approval. Quinn glanced at the silent Rachel Berry, and said with a smile, "Rachel, you usually talk the most, why don't you say a word today?" Rachel is the kind of person who wants to show off. This is the consensus of everyone who is familiar with or even just met Rachel. At this moment, when Quinn reminded them, they suddenly realized, "Yes, I just feel that something is wrong today." It turns out that Rachel didn't show off and give all kinds of advice as usual. Nothing. Rachel smiled guiltily, "I just think that Mr. Schuster is right. It is too difficult for Owen to gather 12 girls with first-class singing talent. We don't have to worry at all." Really, Quinn's mouth curled up, dragged a long note, and didn't continue to speak, which made Rachel relieved, but a cold and suspicious look fell on her. "Finn." Rachel looked up and saw that it was her boyfriend Finn, looking at her with a sullen face. She knew that Finn was very sad about Quinn and Noah's betrayal, and he was very sensitive afterwards, but she thought she didn't reveal any flaws. Unfortunately, she didn't know that Finn was also the captain of the football team. Finn knew all about the grudges between Owen and the football team members. Quinn's casual mention immediately made Finn think about it. Once he linked his girlfriend Rachel with Owen, he felt a heavy weight on his head, and his heart was blocked and uncomfortable. "Okay." Will clapped his hands and interrupted, "I believe Rachel, don't think too much. Beep beep. Beep beep. Beep beep. What's that sound?" Will paused. "Sorry, Mr. Schuster, it's my text message sound." "Mine rang too." "Me too." The three cheerleaders' cell phones all rang at the same time. "Wow." After reading the message, the heartless Brittany exclaimed in surprise, "It's Owen. He invited me to the audition for the Eternal Spear Choir." Audition, audition. Will opened his mouth wide and couldn't close it for a long time. Holy crap. Bad boy Noah Puckerman exclaimed, is this possible? I, Noah Puckerman, am convinced. Finn looked at Quinn and Santana, one was his ex-girlfriend and the other was the woman who gave him a red envelope, and asked, where are your text messages? Was it from Owen too? Quinn and Santana shrugged and nodded, yes. Rachel, what about you? Finn finally confirmed his inner thoughts and looked at Rachel with a much more relaxed look. I didn't receive the message. Rachel took out her phone and saw that there was no message. She exclaimed in surprise. Neither did I. What's there to be happy about? Asian non-mainstream Tina Zhang snorted. Neither did I. Black Pearl Mercedes Jones muttered, what kind of invitation criteria are these? In a classroom. Of course it's appearance. Owen held his phone and sent group messages while muttering to himself. Although Principal Figgins praised the Eternal Spear Choir as a good name, he didn't know what was really good about this name. Not to mention the obvious meaning, the owner of the Eternal Spear is Odin, the god king of Norse mythology. As a Western god, especially a god king, all kinds of god operations are commonplace. Now, I am sending group text messages to select members of the Eternal Spear Choir, which is very consistent with Odin's various god king level operations. In addition to the skill 1 exchanged by the system, the name of the Eternal Spear Choir is really too standard. Chapter 37, The Happy Face Slap. George's Villa. Regina's boudoir. In front of the large floor-length dressing mirror. God. My butt is getting bigger and bigger, so annoying. Karen Smith, wearing a pink t-shirt and shorts, turned left and right to look at her body. Looking at the exaggerated curves behind her, she couldn't help pouting. Oh, I hate my calves. Gretchen came over and started to be picky as usual. At least you can wear tank tops. Queen Bee Regina also came over and frowned and said, I gave birth to a man's shoulders, all my father's fault, so annoying, it has lowered my beauty by at least one level, and my pores are too big. After saying that, she looked at the two followers. Karen has always been silly and cute, and she hasn't reacted yet. Gretchen is so good at reading people's expressions. She immediately reached out and touched her hair, lamenting, my hairline is so weird. Regina nodded with satisfaction and looked at Karen again. Karen was stunned for a while, and then after Gretchen secretly winked at her, she reacted and looked down to see if she had any shortcomings, but found that her vision was completely blocked and she couldn't see anything. At this time, Regina's eyes were already cold and fierce, and even Gretchen curled her lips in dissatisfaction. My nail bed is too bad. After a while, Karen finally stretched out her palm, raised it in front of her eyes, and complained about herself. Regina looked at it and shrugged without comment. Although she was not very satisfied, she still let Karen go. In fact, the three of them had very hot bodies, but Karen was obviously better. At least she couldn't see her shoes when she looked down, which was not something that ordinary women could do. Beep beep. Beep beep. Beep beep. Just as the three of them were complaining about their shortcomings, their mobile phones rang at the same time. Huh? Regina stood at the back, closest to the bed, and picked up the phone and looked at it, and uttered a light exclamation. What's wrong? Gretchen responded immediately. In fact, when it comes to wealth, Gretchen's family is far better than Regina's, but at this stage of high school, wealth cannot fully represent a person's status. Regina is more scheming, more famous in school, and the initiator of the youth royal family, so Gretchen will follow Regina closely, always paying attention to Regina's every move, hoping to get Regina's recognition, and even competing with Karen, just to be the first person around Regina. This is a distorted idea, but it is very real, just like Rachel Berry, the lead singer of the New Direction Choir, thinks that in America, whether it is society or school, fame is everything, and people like Regina who are famous will naturally have a large number of followers. If Gretchen does not give in and always pleases Regina, she will not be able to stand by Regina, so that the worse Regina treats Gretchen, the more cautious Gretchen will be and the more she will try to please her. As for leaving Regina behind, forming her own bee colony, and becoming a queen bee, Gretchen had fantasized about it, but the more she stayed with Regina and the more she understood, the less she dared to do it. Because the Regina she had seen was too sharp, and a bad idea could ruin a person. For example, one time when they were shopping, they saw Gretchen's boyfriend cheating on her and picking up girls from a distance, and Gretchen thought to forget it. But Regina rolled her eyes and asked Gretchen to take out her cell phone and call the girls home, pretending to be a staff member of the Family Planning Commission, and simply said, "The test report is out, please call her back as soon as possible, this is an emergency." As a result, the girl's mother fell to the ground after hearing it, and then immediately called her daughter, without listening to any explanation, and sternly asked her to go home immediately and be confined for 3 months. There are many such examples. When Gretchen thought of the scene where Regina rolled her eyes and one vicious but extremely effective bad idea after another popped out of her mind, she didn't dare to think of leaving and being independent. There can only be one queen bee in a high school. This is a consensus. Just look at what happened to Quinn Fabry. Ever since the news of Quinn's pregnancy came out, Regina, who had been competing with Quinn for the top spot at North Shore High School, immediately pursued her and pressed Quinn to the ground. Only then did she completely become the top spot at North Shore High School. By the way, even her youth royal family became the most fashionable existence at North Shore High School. You know, in most public high schools, just like the quarterback of the football team is the top boy in the school, the captain of the cheerleading team is also the top girl in the school. Before Quinn Fabry got pregnant, she was so impressive. Even so, Regina could stand shoulder to shoulder with her, which shows how powerful Regina is. Regina pouted and said, "It's Owen." Owen. Gretchen's eyes lit up. What a beautiful name. It makes people feel extremely happy when they hear it. Owen. Karen came over and asked in surprise, "Is he coming over?" No. Regina rolled her eyes, very unhappy with Karen's attitude. In fact, she knew all the good things that Gretchen and Karen did behind her and Owen's back. Who is she? The top girl at North Shore High School, the queen of the royal family of youth, that is. Gretchen thought she could hide it from her. However, Owen is different from ordinary boys. He is a cloud, a free and unrestrained cloud. The shrewd Regina saw through Owen's nature at a glance. She knew that she couldn't treat Owen like her previous boyfriends, and she also knew that Gretchen and Karen couldn't resist the temptation of happiness, so she simply turned a blind eye. As long as Gretchen and Karen remembered to maintain her queen's majesty, she would not bother to care. Otherwise, at the last party, did Karen really think she was so easy to persuade? Then he sent a text message. Gretchen asked cautiously, "Can't you check your phones yourself?" Regina said with a smile, "I guess you received the same content on your phones." Huh? Gretchen and Karen were stunned and picked up their phones to look. Ah. Karen said in surprise, "Owen invited us to participate in the audition of the Eternal Spear Choir. Regina, shall we go?" Stupid. Regina scolded, "Of course not." Yes. Gretchen also reacted and echoed, "We are the fashion forefront of North Shore High School, how can we fail to join the choir?" But Owen. Karen wanted to say more, but stopped at the cold gaze of Regina and Gretchen, and muttered softly, "Chasing the national competition, it sounds interesting." This Owen. Regina glanced at Gretchen and Karen, and a light bulb went off in her head. She already understood Owen's God King operation, and shook her head speechlessly. He really has an idea. But even if his ex-girlfriends are all over the school, it is impossible for him to succeed in forming this Eternal Spear Choir. Why? Karen asked curiously. It's very simple. Regina analyzed. First of all, the girls Owen dates must be good-looking and have good figures. At this point, she held her head high and said proudly, "These girls are proud. Except for the fool Quinn Fabry, no one will stoop to join the choir. And look at Quinn Fabry now. Do you think there are any girls willing to participate in any auditions? No." Gretchen put herself in Quinn's shoes, shuddered uncontrollably, and murmured, "Even if Owen initiates it, it won't work. P.S. Thanks to Sanfang Yang for the reward." Chapter 38 Owen's Attack. North Shore Public High School. Auditorium. What time is it? Will looked at the members of the New Direction Choir with expectation. 4:30, an hour has passed, and no one has signed up. Finn looked at his watch and said excitedly, "Oh, the legend is broken." Bad boy Noah Parkerman touched his mohawk hair and whistled, feeling quite happy. Owen Lee got slapped in the face this time. I really thought he could do it. But how did he get in touch with Teacher Mai Jia? Teacher Mai Jia is the instructor of the Mathematical Olympiad team. Quinn looked at the father of his child with shining eyes, looking at the figure sitting side by side with Owen on the stage. His face darkened involuntarily, and he sneered, "If you were also a top student like Owen, you would have a chance, but it's a pity." Noah chuckled and did not respond to Quinn's sarcasm. He was in the wrong to begin with. When he cheated on his good friend Finn, His words and actions were simply classic male routines, all kinds of "I will do this and that, trust me." It's a pity that a bad boy like Noah can't even believe the punctuation marks. Compared to girls of the same age like Quinn, Noah prefers his job, clearing sewers, so his aesthetic taste is also very different from that of ordinary boys. In terms of absolute charm, Mary Magdalene, who is a generation older than Quinn, attracts his attention more. Good. Will was overjoyed and clapped his hands and laughed. "Classmates, this is good news, isn't it? From now on, everyone can practice singing with peace of mind, right?" "Yes, Mr. Schuster." Everyone responded in unison. On the stage, Owen and Mary sat side by side behind a table. There was a registration form on the table. The empty form seemed to be mocking Owen, but to Mary's surprise, Owen looked calm and didn't show any shame or anger. "Owen, are you okay?" Mary asked with concern. Having studied educational psychology, she understood very well how strong the self-esteem of a boy like Owen's age was, especially since Owen had such a glorious past. Today's audition was a disastrous failure, which should have dealt a heavy blow to Owen. Owen's performance made her even more worried. "Teacher Magia, I'm fine." Owen smiled slightly. He was indeed a little surprised, but he didn't mean to be ashamed or angry. Just kidding, he was just nobody in his previous life, and it was common for him to suffer all kinds of blows. After Rebirth, although he embarked on the road to the peak of his life because of the American TV series system and lived a dreamy life, it did not mean that he had completely abandoned his previous life. In fact, the experience of more than 20 years in the previous life had already shaped his outlook on life, worldview, and values. This was the real him. Compared with the setbacks Owen encountered when he was a miserable nobody in his previous life, what was this little setback? "I'm glad you're okay." Mary smiled slightly, with a hint of worry in her eyes, and suggested, "Do you want to go swimming at my place later? I remember you said you like my outdoor swimming pool." "Yeah, I do like Teacher Magia's outdoor swimming pool." Owen raised the corner of his mouth, "But I still have things to do. I'm afraid I can't go over to bring you beer during this period of time." "What are you busy with?" Mary asked puzzledly. "Aren't you giving up?" "Of course." Owen smiled confidently. "It's just a small setback now. It can't trip me up. Since the passive audition has no effect, I can only take the initiative." "Take the initiative." Mary was surprised and said, "What are you going to do?" "It's very simple." Owen snapped his fingers. "I will visit them one by one, and then use my sincerity and enthusiasm to convince them." Hiss. Mary covered her mouth, took a breath of cold air, and said in disbelief, "Owen, are you sure? This will take a lot of time. Will it be too hard?" "It doesn't matter," Owen said confidently. "In fact, it's not as complicated as you think, Teacher Magia. I don't need to convince everyone. I just need to convince a few of the most influential ones and let them join the Eternal Spear Choir. By then, with their fame, they will dispel a large part of the doubts of other girls. The rest, with my face, I believe it will be very smooth." "That's true." Mary nodded in agreement. "Your reputation in the girls' circle is still good, but there is one more thing. Why do you want me to be the instructor of the Eternal Spear Choir?" "It's not that I don't want to, but I don't have the ability in this area. I can only tell whether a song is good or bad, but I can't give further guidance, not to mention dancing. In my opinion, if you really want to lead the Eternal Spear Choir to defeat the Adrenal Choir and pursue the national competition, an excellent instructor like Will is necessary. I know Will has an opinion about you, but I have another good candidate." "Well?" Owen was surprised and asked, "Who is it?" "Holly Holiday." Mary smiled and said, "She's a substitute teacher at the school and also an excellent artist. Her level is not much worse than Will's." "Oh, Pepper." Owen suddenly realized, shook his head and smiled. "She's not suitable." "Why?" Mary was puzzled. "Because she's not good-looking enough." Owen said seriously, "We are doing a business, and we must be the closest friends. Although Teacher Holiday is very good, she really doesn't meet my aesthetic standards. When you go out, you can do whatever you want, but you still have to stick to your aesthetic standards." Mary was speechless. Although she knew that Owen's reasoning was a jerk, she didn't know why she was still a little happy in her heart. "Teacher Magia, don't worry," Owen said confidently. "I already have a candidate for the dance teacher, and I also have a general idea for the song. I have a detailed plan for the whole plan, and it will definitely succeed. All you have to do is give me enough support." Isn't my support for you enough? Mary smiled helplessly. Owen smiled, tilted his head in thought for a while, then nodded affirmatively. That's enough, Mr. Mygia, you have done your best. I just slipped my tongue. Humph. Mary snorted lightly and said, just do it, I know how to help you. Thank you. Hey, why is there no one? Owen, is the registration over? Just as Owen and Mary were about to pack up and leave, a familiar figure came over, looked at the empty stage, and asked curiously. Karen. Owen sat down again and waved to Karen Jackson. Come here quickly, I will drive you back after the registration. That's great. Karen was overjoyed, and without saying a word, she came over and signed her name on the registration form. P.S. Thanks to Kyanki and Uwulu and Gillen for the reward. Chapter 39 Fairy Tales Are All Lies. Half a month later. North Shore Public High School, Auditorium. Okay, Anna, it's done. Thank you for coming to audition. The empty stage was now full of people. Behind the judge's table, Owen said softly to a pretty girl who was still singing. HMPH. The pretty girl stopped unhappily and glared at Owen, who was pale. According to her temper, she would definitely lose her temper at being rejected in public. But the person in front of her was Owen. He worked so hard, how could she bear to lose her temper? Next one. Mary Magee shouted. Next, Owen called out the pretty girls one by one and they came forward to sing. Becca, how about Vicky? Owen asked the girl sitting on his right as usual. Not bad. Becca Mitchell thought about it seriously. She is quite talented and has a unique voice. After your targeted tuning, she should be a very outstanding singer. Very good. Owen nodded and smiled. We finally have another teammate in the Eternal Spear Choir. Go on. Becca glanced at the girls who were still waiting to go on stage with a bit of boredom, fiddling with a computer in front of her, rearranging various music, and a series of wonderful tunes sounded in the auditorium. Okay, Christina, let's start. Owen glanced at the beautiful girl who was about to go on stage, his eyes paused, his brain worked at high speed, and then he remembered the girl's name. There was no way, there were too many people, and they all came directly without filling out the registration form. Fortunately, they were all known by Owen, otherwise he couldn't even call out their names, which would be too embarrassing. Today is Sunday, the audition started in the morning and was busy until nightfall. It was finally over. After sending all the girls away, Owen rubbed his temple uncomfortably. In the past half-month, he had been trying to persuade the girls who were unwilling to participate in the audition day and night, just like an Attack on Titan. He was so tired that his body felt a little weak. He kept thinking about the names of these girls all day long, fearing that he would make a mistake. It was a typical case of overusing his brain and hurting his brain. Owen, are you okay? Mary asked with concern. No. Owen shook his dizzy head and said with energy, how many members do we have now? 12. Mary said immediately, in addition to you, we have recruited a total of 11 girls, Karen Jackson, Regina George, Karen Smith, Gretchen Venus, Suj Moda, Becca Mitchell, Vicky Larson, Jessica Lyon, Heather Suvery, Elise Kebbel, Beth Cooper. One more is missing. Owen frowned. Actually, among the girls who auditioned today, there are many who sang very well. Mary asked puzzledly, why did you let Becca be in charge of selecting people? Because she is a genius in arranging songs. Owen smiled slightly. When we participate in competitions in the future, we will need to arrange songs. She is the most suitable candidate, so when selecting members, I will try to listen to her opinions as much as possible. Can she really do it? Mary asked uncertainly. Sure. Owen said confidently. Becca is a hard-working genius. Although she doesn't have much experience, she has strong growth potential. There is still a whole year, which is enough for Becca to mature. With my help in tuning, the 12 girls can perfectly control the 3 ranges of bass, middle and high pitch. Mary giggled when she heard it. That's right. I believe you are the best and one-of-a-kind legendary tuner in the world. When the time comes, the 12 dolphin sounds will definitely shock the world. Owen shook his head and laughed. How can dolphin sounds be so easy to tune? Karen is a special case. She has talent herself. But I am very confident about the bass and middle pitch. My teammates like them very much. As for the high pitch, few people like it. Mary thought about it and found that this was too true. She was speechless. She didn't like high pitch either. What are you going to do with this last candidate? Let me think about it. Owen pondered for a long time, and suddenly his eyes lit up. I got it. At the track and field stadium. A tall and thin boy in a track and field suit, biting a popping candy in his mouth, remained silent, letting the girl in red across from him yell. After a while, the girl in red stopped, looked at her boyfriend who didn't say anything again, shook her head in disappointment, and turned away. Hi, Juno. Owen went up to him and greeted him. Hi, Owen. Juno looked unhappy, and after reluctantly saying hello, he continued to walk out of the track and field stadium. Listen. Owen and Juno walked side by side. I have a suggestion. No. Juno stopped and shouted to Owen. That was just an accident. I won't go out with you again. I have a boyfriend. I know. Owen shrugged. Brick, you know me. Have you heard of me entangled with any girl? Juno paused. Her face looked much better, and her voice was calm. Then why are you looking for me? I want to invite you to join the Eternal Gun Choir. Owen went straight to the point. You are very talented and you love music. Why don't you join and chase the national competition together? It's fun. No, thank you. Juno shook her head and said, I'm not born to get along with him. I only like to play in a band with my boyfriend. Really? Owen said in disbelief. I know you had a romantic relationship with Brick before, but come on. We are all high school students. No matter how passionate and romantic the relationship is, it is like a small boat in the sea, which may be broken up by huge waves at any time. You have maintained it for nearly a year, which is already very good. Many people have completely changed in one summer vacation. This is nothing. The princes and princesses in fairy tales are all lies. We live in the real world. Fairy tales are all lies. Juno was hit by this sentence and murmured, is it really like this? As Owen said, she was madly infatuated with Brick before, and even planned for a whole year before finally pushing Brick down. She was pregnant for this. After that, like all romantic love stories, the child was born and given to a family in need to raise, and the two finally walked together happily. All romantic stories are frozen in the moment of happy embrace, but in reality, time is still passing. Adults still have such a high divorce rate, let alone high school students who are not stable and have no autonomy. A few months later, the romance of the two was exhausted, and all that was left was all kinds of running in full of noise, and quarrels were constantly staged. This is reality. P.S. The second push for the trial was suddenly discontinued. I felt so depressed that I don't even have the mood to write anymore. I hope those big guys who have book lists can add one to them. The days of running naked are too hard to endure. I rely on the support of the big guys. Chapter 40 Road Trip. Time flies like water. In the blink of an eye, it is summer vacation. In America, summer vacation is a real summer vacation. June, July, and August are 3 months long, covering the entire summer. After convincing Juno with great effort, Owen's Eternal Spear Choir finally gathered the 12 golden hairpins and was officially formed. After reminding everyone to practice singing during the summer vacation, Owen drove directly to New York. America is vast and sparsely populated, and there are very few long-distance trains. Most people drive cars directly, cross the long highway line, and reach other distant states. At the age of 16, Owen, like most American high school students, obtained a driver's license. In this country where everyone is a driver's license is equivalent to an ID card. Until recently, Owen was surprised to get his first car in his life. It was given by Jack. The car was not a good car, but a very cheap, classic second-hand Ford worth several $1,000s. However, this was not because Jack had any opinion on him, but because most high school students received second-hand cars as their first car. Here, cars are really just a means of transportation. If you want to show off and buy a luxury car, go earn your own money. Owen carried $10 20 bills in cash and $1,800 in his bank card, of which $1,000 came from the prize money of the mathematical Olympiad, and the other $1,000 was earned from his part-time job as a weed cutter in Wisteria Lane. Chicago is only about 1,300 kilometers away from New York, and it takes about 12 hours to drive there. The round-trip gas cost is more than $100, which is not enough money at all, but Owen brought all his property with him. It was a habit he developed in his previous life to bring more money when he went out, just in case. Listening to music, Owen controlled the steering wheel with one hand and put his other hand on the window, walking on the deserted road. After driving for several hours, The unchanging desolate scenery made Owen unconsciously sleepy until he was awakened by the cry for help in front. Hi! 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 A small bus was stranded beside the road, and a group of people, old and young, stood there, waving at Owen. How can I help you? Owen stepped on the brake and asked. If this was not the positive universe centered on the Big Bang Theory, he would never stop the car so rashly, because he didn't want to encounter a horror road movie scene like The Hitchhiker. Yes. Yes. A middle-aged white man holding a little girl stepped forward and explained, our car broke down, and we have to get to New York as soon as possible. My daughter Olive is going to participate in the Miss Sunshine beauty pageant. Please help us, sir. Looking at the chubby, glasses-wearing, big-eyed cute little girl who looked at him curiously, Owen had a vague impression of her, but he couldn't remember where he had seen her. However, he was already very familiar with this situation, and thought to himself, this is probably another European and American film or TV series I watched in my previous life. Okay. Owen agreed immediately, but glanced at the rest of the people and hesitated, but there are too many of you. My car can't fit 6 of you. This. The middle-aged white man said embarrassedly, can you let your car tow our minibus? We can pay for your gas when we get to the town. We are a family and agreed to go together to refuel Oliver. Okay. Owen was still very easy to talk to. He got out of the car, hooked the minibus with a tow rope, and drove them out of the wilderness. The middle-aged white man took the little girl and got into Owen's car. He talked to Owen, and the others sat in the bus at the back. My name is Richard Hoover, thank you for your help. My name is Owen Lee. Owen smiled and said, you're welcome. Anyone who encounters this situation will lend a hand. But no one did. The little girl with glasses suddenly said, 2 cars passed by before, and they ignored us and drove straight past. Alice. Richard sighed, not everyone is as kind as you, Owen. This competition is what Oliver has dreamed of participating in. So when our car broke down there and no one was willing to help us, we were really anxious. Fortunately, we met you. Don't worry, you will arrive on time. Owen comforted her, and then glanced at the little girl in the rearview mirror and smiled. There are still more good people in this world, aren't there? Yes, Owen, you are a good person. Oliver nodded repeatedly with a lovely smile. By the way, Owen, where are you going? Richard asked. It won't affect your plans, will it? No. Owen shook his head and said, I'm going to New York too. That's good. Richard also smiled. You look like a high school student. Is this your first road trip? In America, many high school students choose to take a road trip across the country after graduation or during summer vacation, in order to relax and gain knowledge. Of course, there are also many high school students who stay in small towns all their lives and have not even traveled through their own state. I guess so. Owen smiled. Actually, I went to New York from Chicago to attend a book signing event for a famous neurologist. Wow! Richard exclaimed. You traveled more than 1,000 kilometers to attend a book signing event. You must be a fanatical fan of her. Haha. Owen shook his head and smiled. Not really, but I've heard of her name and am very interested in the content of her book. I want to go to the scene to ask her in person. Oh. Richard couldn't keep up with Owen's train of thought and could only shrug with a wry smile. So, Oliver, do you like this beauty pageant called Miss Sunshine? Owen changed the subject. Yes. Oliver nodded affirmatively. I really want to go to the place on TV and sing and dance in front of everyone. Oh, that's great. Owen said as he drove. I recently formed a choir at school, and we will also pursue the national competition in the future. Maybe we can see each other on TV. Really? Oliver clapped his hands and smiled sweetly. That's great. By the way, Owen asked casually, Oliver, what song and dance are you going to perform? Yet Oliver tilted his head, thought for a while, and said, I don't know what it's called, but my grandfather said that I sing very well and dance very well too. Richard saw Owen's eyes looking at him, and smiled awkwardly. Oliver has been singing and dancing with her grandfather, and we don't know the specific situation. I understand. Owen nodded and smiled. In the East, it is normal for grandparents to take care of their grandchildren and reduce the burden on their children. We regard it as a virtue. Chapter 41 The Helpless Adult. New York. The largest city in the United States and the world. It is known as the world's financial center because of the influence of Manhattan and Wall Street in business and finance. At the same time, There are Times Square and Broadway Theater District, which are one of the world's entertainment industry centers, one east and one west of Hollywood in Los Angeles. Will Schuster, the instructor of the New Direction Choir who is at odds with Owen, dreams of coming to New York and singing in the Broadway theater. Even if there are no audiences in the audience, it does not affect his expectations at all. There are too many art practitioners who have the same dream as Will Schuster. Just like California is full of Penny, they are young and beautiful, but they would rather stay in California year after year, earning the minimum wage and working as waitresses, and are unwilling to leave, because there are too many glitz and temptations here, which are too great for girls like Penny. Queens. Queen Hotel. After arriving in New York, Owen drove here, checked the time, turned on the TV, and searched for local channels. He wanted to see if the little girl he met on the road before had succeeded. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Miss Sunshine competition. Now, please welcome our 12 Miss Sunshine contestants. Amid the host's ups and downs in the opening, the camera showed a series of well-dressed little girls. When the last little girl came out, Owen smiled, Oliver. Poof. But when Oliver came on stage, he performed an unspeakable dance in front of a steel pipe, and the water in Owen's mouth sprayed out. Holy shit. Before Oliver finished dancing, the camera was blocked. Obviously, the TV station staff found something unusual and took decisive measures. In the United States, child protection is quite serious. There are all kinds of high-end child protection organizations all over the country. Any movement will cause a storm of public opinion. Owen knew without thinking that there would be all kinds of public opinions criticizing Oliver's parents in tomorrow's newspapers, and even children's rights protection organizations would come to check. If Richard and others did not respond properly, they would be at risk of being sued in minutes. This is no joke. Owen sighed softly, lying on the bed, took out a book from his bag, looked at the middle-aged woman with glasses on the cover with an indifferent look, and smiled slightly, a hopeless person. The next day, at 10 a.m., a small new book signing event was being held in the hotel's banquet hall. Owen took the newly bought A Hopeless Person and walked to the signing table in line with a different smile on his lips. Dr. Hofstadter, it's an honor to meet you. I have read your new book and it is very educational. Oh. Beverly, who is wearing a woman's suit behind the table, raised her glasses and showed an indifferent expression of you know the answer but still ask, which made Owen grin, and he felt like he was looking at a female version of Sheldon. Dr. Hofstadter, can I ask you a question? This is a book signing event, not a psychological counseling meeting, but since you said so, then ask it. Beverly still had a cold expression that made people feel annoyed. Are the cases in your new book real? Owen smiled and said, are the cases really from your son Leonard Rich Hofstadter? Of course. Beverly said coldly, I am a neurologist, and rigor is the most basic requirement. The last question, where's your son Leonard Rich Hofstadter now? Owen asked the most critical question. In fact, before the regional finals of the choir, when Owen issued a literary and sports challenge to Jesse Kratt who had repeatedly provoked him, Owen had already had a comprehensive plan. If he followed the original plan to cultivate a top student, the 12 points of existence provided by Sheldon alone in a year would not be enough for Owen to defeat Jesse, whose intelligence reached level 5, in the mathematical Olympiad next year. The previous success was just a surprise victory, and Jesse was distracted by the adrenal choir. If it happened again, with Jesse's intelligence, after a 90-minute rush to answer, maybe he only needed 45 minutes to completely defeat Owen. The difference in intelligence is so cruel. Even if Owen defeats Adrenal Gland with the Eternal Spear next year, if he loses in the Mathematical Olympiad, or simply does not participate in the Mathematical Olympiad next year, and only uses this year's success to prove it, it is not a satisfying crush. Therefore, it is urgent for Owen to improve his intelligence as soon as possible, and to improve his intelligence, he must gain the friendship of the 7 members of the Big Bang Theory. Among the remaining 6, Owen only knows a little about Leonard. Owen clearly remembers that when Penny read The Helpless Ada written by Leonard's mother Beverly, she teased Leonard, you still like the left side. When Owen searched the internet, he really found this book, as well as the news that Beverly Hofstadter would hold a book signing event in New York, so he chose to leave the gentle land without hesitation and drove to New York. Don't get me wrong. Seeing Beverly looking at him with a freak look, Owen quickly explained, I'm just curious about what the real Leonard is like in real life. Is he really as unbearable as you say? Are you questioning my academic level? Beverly said coldly, Isn't it a scientific attitude to doubt everything? Owen said seriously. Beverly raised her glasses, glanced at Owen, nodded and said, "That's right." Then, "Dr. Hofstadter, can I know Leonard's information?" Owen still said seriously. "Of course." Beverly said lightly, "My academic content can withstand any verification. Leonard is still in his senior year in New Jersey." Oh, at this point, Beverly's eyes were full of disgust, but her face was still indifferent. She shook her head and said, "Compared to his brothers and sisters, he is really too bad." "What's the specific address?" Owen asked. "New Jersey. Dr. Hofstadter." The staff of the new book signing event couldn't help it, and interrupted Beverly, kindly reminding her that she shouldn't disclose her son's information to outsiders so rashly. "It's okay," Beverly said calmly. "I believe that with Leonard's conditions, there won't be anything valuable enough for someone to commit a crime for him. If there is, then I have to say thank you." The staff was stunned. Owen's mouth twitched. Although Beverly's weird attitude towards Leonard had appeared sporadically on TV in his previous life, when they were really face to face, the indifference still shocked him. He had only one thought in his mind: who gave Leonard the courage to survive? If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42. There's a girl. New Jersey. Princeton High School. The senior prom is being held here. A short boy wearing a neutral sports jacket, brown pants, a physics-themed t-shirt, and thick black framed glasses, pouts and looks sadly at a pure and lovely girl and her companions walking by without stopping. Hearing their laughter, his raised hand freezes there. "Becky, isn't that Leonard? Why don't you say hello to him?" "Why should I say hello? I don't know him." "Really? How come I've seen you two playing together before?" "You must have seen it wrong, or you just happened to see him chatting me up before, but you know, I encounter this kind of thing many times every day. I remember everything." "That's right, another self-righteous nerd. Look at him standing there stupidly wanting to say hello to you. It must be because, Becky, you treat every suitor well, making them have the illusion that you are interested in them." "What a poor nerd. Becky, I really didn't expect you to get the offer from Cornell University so smoothly. It really surprised me." Yes, you are the best among us. How can I not see it before?" "Humph. That's because your minds are not on studying at all, otherwise you would have discovered how good I am a long time ago. Stop talking, let's go in." Several girls walked in with laughter, leaving Leonard standing there like a petrified man, with Becky's words constantly echoing in his mind. "I don't know him, I don't know him, I don't know him. How could this be?" After standing there for a long time, Leonard began to doubt himself. Could it be that everything before did not exist? "I have a mental problem and imagined it. But that's not right. Becky's paper was clearly written by me not long ago, and I have been helping Becky with homework for several years. Could it be that the whole high school was just my imagination?" The more he thought about it, the more headache he had. Leonard completely doubted his life, and his first half of his life kept flashing in his mind. He was born into a family of scientists. His father was an anthropologist, his mother was a neurologist, his sister was a doctor of biomedicine, and his brother was a doctor of law. With an IQ of 173, he was also developing in the direction of a scientist. But it was precisely because of this brilliant family background that made his childhood completely different. He never had a birthday. The only time he was close to a birthday party was when his relatives suddenly died on his birthday and everyone gathered. Mother Beverly is a neurologist and psychiatrist. Like Sheldon, she has a strict speaking habit, lacks understanding of social customs, and pays too much attention to details. She is too harsh on Leonard and always feels that Leonard is not as good as his brothers and sisters, so Leonard has never felt maternal love. For this reason, when he was a child, he used his genius mind to create a hug machine to compensate for the affection that should have come from his mother, but this hug machine was often borrowed by his father. In school, he has always been a genius in the eyes of teachers and a nerd in the eyes of other classmates, and is often bullied in various ways. Pee in his Hawaiian punch. Pull up his underwear and make him have an indescribable zero dislocation, and as a result, he has been waiting for that indescribable zero to fall for a whole Christmas. Smash walnuts with his head. Force him to eat his own hand hair. Roll him into a ball and stuff him into a cabinet, a trash can, or even a backpack. Stuff a parrot into his pants. Strip him naked and throw him into the girls' locker room. Other things, such as gluing Hershey's Kiss chocolates to his chest with super glue, using a stapler to staple two indescribable zeros on his books, feeding him laxatives and surrounding him to prevent him from going to the toilet, etc., can list a long list of such bullying, which cannot be written on a piece of paper. Leonard survived under such bullying. A large part of his courage came from Becky, who had just left. When he was used to being ignored by girls and bullied by boys in his student life, one day when he just entered high school, Becky, a beautiful cool girl, quietly appeared in his life. Yes, now think about it, it was indeed silent. Every time they were together, there was no one around. At first, he was a little confused, but Becky explained it this way: Leonard, you are a good person. I have too many suitors, and many of them are bad people. I don't want you to get hurt, so we should be friends secretly and don't let anyone know. When we are adults and graduate, we can make it public. Do you understand? Okay. At that time, Leonard could only nod with a silly smile. His IQ of 173 was completely ineffective in this situation. Oh, Leonard, you are so nice. Becky gave Leonard a warm hug, with a smug smile in her eyes. Leonard, you are so good at studying, can you help me? I don't know a lot of things. Okay. Leonard naturally didn't say anything, and still nodded and smiled silly. So, when Leonard was writing furiously, Becky sat aside, gushing white Russian cocktails into her mouth, saying words of gratitude. With Leonard's IQ, these homework can be completed in a short time, but every time he finished, Becky would leave immediately. In order to stay with Becky more, he often deliberately delayed the time, so that every time Becky got drunk and vomited in the toilet, he would hold her head and let her vomit while saying, Leonard, you are so nice, I really hope all men are like you. This situation lasted throughout his high school career. Finally, when he graduated from high school, just when Leonard was looking forward to being together openly, what he encountered was Becky's never knew him. Anyone who encounters this situation will be hide and doubt life. Hey, Nancy. Are you a statue here? A tall boy appeared drunk and hugged Leonard's shoulders. The strong strength of the football team member made Leonard feel pain all over his body. Finally, he came back to his senses from the flashback. Jimmy, my name is not Nancy, my name is Leonard. Leonard tried his best to resist Jimmy's hug, and couldn't help but refute the female name Jimmy imposed on him for the nth time. Jimmy poured another sip of beer into his mouth and laughed. Okay, Nancy, got it, Nancy. Enough. Leonard received 10,000 points of critical hits from Becky tonight. Because he graduated, he finally couldn't help but explode once, trying to push Jimmy away and yelling, "What did you say to me?" Jimmy was stunned, then stared at Leonard with a ferocious face. Say it again. Leonard was only so strong this time in his life. When he finished shouting and was stared at by the tall, strong and drunk Jimmy, the passion he had just felt disappeared instantly. He hid in Jimmy's shadow timidly, looking at Jimmy, but couldn't speak. Leonard shivered, took out an asthma inhaler from his pocket and kept breathing heavily. He said enough. At this time, a gentle but firm male voice sounded in their ears. The two couldn't help but look in the direction of the voice, and saw an Asian youth walk out of a Ford car, nodding to Leonard with a smile on his face. Chapter 43. Come, drink chicken soup. Princeton High School. What did you say? Jimmy squinted and saw that it was an Asian youth. His anger suddenly rose. He pointed a beer bottle at Owen and threatened angrily, "You dare to say it again in front of me." In America, nerds like Leonard are often bullied in school, and in the eyes of people like Jimmy, all Asians are nerds, and because of racial issues, bullying is much more severe than bullying white people like Leonard. When the other party sees him, they always lower their heads and walk around. He has never seen an Asian dare to provoke him. I've said enough. The person who came was Owen. After getting the address from Beverly, he immediately drove over and happened to see this scene. Although Jimmy in front of him looked almost exactly like Sheldon's father, he looked ferocious now, and he didn't have the kindness of Sheldon's father at all. Is there something wrong with your ears? Owen would not be scared by Jimmy's tall figure as a football player. At North Shore High School, he could beat 10 people after giving them a hat. On the contrary, Owen deliberately put on a provocative attitude, because this kind of opportunity is rare. Although it is not a hero saving a beauty, it is a good start to make friends with Leonard. FKY. Jimmy and other football players have a characteristic, that is, they are easily explosive and angry. Seeing that Owen dared to provoke further, his eyes turned red and he rushed directly towards Owen, holding a beer bottle high in his hand, obviously ready to cut Owen's head. Be careful. Leonard was almost scared to pee. As a weak chicken who was only slightly better than Sheldon, who was chased by a chicken, he was not the material to be a muscle. In the past, Jimmy would kneel down directly when he looked at him, and he had never faced the bloody and furious Jimmy. Don't worry. Irving gave Leonard a reassuring gesture, glanced at Jimmy who had already rushed in front of him, and dodged Jimmy's collision and head opening by turning his body to the side. The drunk Jimmy's eyes blurred, and there was nothing in front of him. How could he stop his body from rushing towards him with all his strength? He fell to the ground with the dog eating shit and screamed in pain. Wow! Chinese Kung Fu! Leonard exclaimed. Thanks to the credit of the local genius, foreigners instinctively exclaimed like this when they saw Asians who knew a few tricks, but in fact, Irving only knew the warrior fighting skills exchanged by the system, which had nothing to do with the so-called Chinese Kung Fu. Hi, Nancy. Owen walked to Jimmy who was struggling to get up, turned his strong body over with his foot, then stepped on Jimmy's neck and sneered at him. From now on, you will be called Nancy. I don't want to see you in front of my friend Leonard again. If I find out, I will beat you every time I see you, do you understand? FKY. You are dead. You and Nancy are dead. It is naturally not so easy for a football team member like Jimmy to give in, not to mention that he was still drunk at this time. He lay on the ground, struggling and cursing. I will not let you go. Hey, Nancy, you are quite arrogant. Owen patted Jimmy's face with his foot and sneered. You know, in our school, I specialize in beating football team members. Since you are so unconvinced, I will wait for you here tomorrow. Don't be afraid to come. Leonard, let's go. After speaking, Owen greeted Leonard with a smile. Oh. Leonard glanced at Jimmy who was staring at them, shuddered, and almost trotted after Owen. He got on the fort and took a deep breath from his asthma inhaler in a state of panic. Huff huff, are you nervous? Owen asked with a smile. Why, yes. Leonard took a deep breath every time he said a letter. Don't worry. Irving drove and laughed. Football team members like them can only bully the timid ones. When they meet the stronger ones, they will just kneel down. When he sobers up, I will beat him again and he will remember it. Really? Leonard smiled reluctantly. Actually, there is no need for you to conflict with him. We have graduated and will never meet again. Are you sure? Irving smiled non-committally. Don't you care that he bullied you for the entire high school? Not the entire high school. Leonard instinctively retorted. It was the entire middle school period. We were in the same junior high school. My bad. Irving shrugged and said, but aren't you happy that I stepped on him just now? No. Leonard wanted to refute, but when he saw Irving's half-smile, he put his hands on his chest, stirring them, and grinned, revealing the classic Leonard smile. I am very happy. Haha. Owen reached out and patted Leonard on the shoulder, laughing. That's right. If you are not happy at all, then you should really go consult your mother. Consult my mother. Leonard shuddered, and the smile on his face froze. You know my mother? No, you know me too. Let me introduce you. My name is Owen Lee. Owen stretched out his right hand and made a handshake gesture. I recently read the book The Helpless Adult written by Dr. Hofstadter, and I was very curious about the examples in it, so I went to New York to attend Dr. Hofstadter's book signing event, and got your contact information from her, so I came to see you. Leonard Hofstadter. Leonard reluctantly stretched out his hand and shook hands with Owen, with a sad face, and said ashamedly, I am the example you want to see. Do you feel bad? Owen stopped the car on the side of the road, turned sideways and said seriously, actually, I don't mean to laugh at you at all. On the contrary, I think Dr. Hofstadter's evaluation of you is too harsh. In my eyes, you are an outstanding high school student. You will definitely become a great scientist in the future. We may become colleagues and friends. Thank you. Leonard looked up and saw that Owen didn't look like he was joking. His face immediately looked much better. He said gratefully, are you going to be a scientist too? Of course. Owen nodded and smiled. Frank Bob said, no matter how powerful a thief is, he can't steal the knowledge in other people's brains, so knowledge is the best and safest treasure. Who doesn't like treasure? Yes. Leonard agreed, I think so too, but it's a pity that no classmates have ever agreed with me before. In their eyes, I'm just a nerd, an object of their ridicule and teasing. Don't lose heart. Irving thought about Leonard's graduation speech at his alma mater in the future, and poured the can of chicken soup to him. Buddy, maybe you have never felt a sense of existence in school, you have no friends, you are often bullied, and you have graduated but you still have your first kiss. But everything you do now, playing the cello alone, assembling computers, etc., are all making yourself interesting. When others really notice you one day, they will find someone cooler than they imagined. As for those who had a good time in high school, their good days are over. After speaking, he glanced at Leonard, but saw Leonard staring at him blankly without saying a word. Irving wondered in his heart, is chicken soup no longer useful in this era? Buddy, you really touched my heart. After a while, Leonard shouted excitedly. Ding 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 PS, thank you AA 1,062,313,725 for the reward. Chapter 44 Dance Teacher. Chicago. I'm sorry, Mrs. Solis, I can't go. It's not about the money. I've been very busy lately. I formed a new choir and are preparing to compete in the national competition next year, so you should hire another weed cutter. What? Others can't weed as well as I do? I know, but I'm really sorry, I'm really busy. I only need to go twice a month and double my salary? But Mr. Solis won't agree, right? Don't worry about him. That's not good, right? In Mary Mejia's single-family villa, Owen was answering the phone, while Mary, who was wearing a bikini, with her legs crossed, basking in the sun and drinking a small bottle of beer by the outdoor swimming pool, couldn't help rolling her eyes when she heard Owen's call. You're so popular. Even those desperate housewives have heard of you. Haha. Owen put away his phone, shook his head and laughed. There's nothing I can do, they are too enthusiastic, I'm desperate too, and I really have no interest in them. I don't believe that. Mary sneered. You even have to have the instructor of the Eternal Spear Choir conform to your aesthetic standards. I don't believe that if Gabrielle Solis, the former famous model, wasn't young and hot, you would agree to be her lawnmower? And you can set your own salary? Is it because you have good lawn mowing skills? Of course I have good lawn mowing skills. Owen laughed shamelessly. Shameless, Mary scolded. By the way, what did you do in New York? Nothing. Owen shrugged and said, I just went there to attend a book signing event and made a friend by the way. Female friend. Mary was surprised. Are you exaggerating? North Shore High School has not satisfied you yet, and you drove to New York on purpose. A real friend, a boy. Owen said speechlessly, Teacher Magia, am I that kind of person in your eyes? Mary tilted her head and thought about it, then nodded affirmatively, yes. Owen paused, reflected on himself, and murmured, I think I really am. Okay. Mary was very good at taking care of Owen's emotions, and smiled and changed the subject. Why did you think of going to New York to make this real friend? I remember that you hardly play with boys. What do you mean I don't play with boys? Aren't Kevin and the others boys? Owen couldn't help but retorted. They are just your teammates. Mary said, besides this relationship, have you ever taken the initiative to look for them? Okay. Owen laughed. The key is that I don't have a common language with them, and I can't get in touch and understand them as deeply as I do with the girls, so I seem to be more lonely. Mary shook her head and laughed. Is there anything special about this boy? Is it that he has a common language with you, or that he can get in touch and understand you deeply? Owen couldn't help but shudder, and complained in Mary's giggles, Teacher Magia, please don't say such disgusting things, okay? If I have a psychological trauma, you will be the one who is sad. While the two were laughing, Owen's experience in New Jersey a week ago flashed through his mind. When Owen used the chicken soup that Leonard summarized for the future to backhand Leonard, Leonard was immediately stunned. No one had ever understood him so well, and every word Owen said touched his heart. Just as Irving expected, Leonard excitedly echoed his call of buddy. At that time, the American TV system in Irving's mind began to beep, reminding Irving that he had gained Leonard's friendship. It was just a pity that although Leonard called out Buddy for good friends, the system still recognized that the two were friends. According to the explanation of the American TV system, in America, no matter what relationship, distance and time cannot be ignored. Not to mention friendship, even family affection is the same. The blood connection here is very weak. The feelings between people rely on the accumulation of many years. Once separated, even good friends and good friends will gradually become strangers. Therefore, even if Leonard is very excited to gain Irving's friendship at this moment, he can't meet the standard of a good friend recognized by the system. Although Irving felt very sorry in his heart, he could understand it, because love grows over time, which is the norm in the world, not only limited to America, but it is more obvious and extreme in America. After achieving the intended goal, Irving briefly deepened his friendship with Leonard, exchanged phone numbers, asked them to keep in touch, and then left. There is no way. If it weren't for the purpose of defeating Jesse thoroughly, Owen had no intention of contacting Leonard in advance, because he didn't want to disrupt the life trajectory of the 7 members of the Big Bang Theory. At least before the plot of the Big Bang Theory officially began, he didn't intend to interfere with them too much. Who knows, will there be a butterfly effect, and the original 7 members will be blown away directly? If this is really the case, then Owen will lose a lot. Before that, it is very necessary to reduce his influence on the 7 members of the Big Bang Theory as much as possible. So Owen returned directly to Chicago. Fortunately, Leonard was about to go to college. Owen only needed to maintain a vague contact with Sheldon, which was enough to ensure his friendship with Leonard, and it would not have too much impact on Leonard's life. How do you plan to fund the Eternal Gun Choir? After laughing for a while, Mary remembered the business. She only recently learned that a simple high school choir spent so much money to participate in the competition. No wonder art groups like choirs are so niche, and it is difficult for public high schools to get a ranking. It is really too expensive. This is also the reason why Sue Sylvester's public support rate soared when she used the slogan of abolishing the school art group as her campaign slogan for the state legislature. In this era, nearly $10,000 is equivalent to nearly half a year's salary for a high school teacher like Mary. It is really not a small amount. Owen smiled slightly and asked back, "Teacher Mygia, have you learned about the members of our Eternal Spear Choir?" Huh? Mary was stunned, then reacted, shook her head and smiled. "You mean to ask them for sponsorship?" "That's right. Regina, Gretchen, and Suge, their families are all very rich. As long as you ask, I think the sponsorship fee is too easy for them." Bingo. Owen snapped his fingers. In fact, Suja has persuaded her father to sponsor all our expenses throughout the process. This is the reason why Owen is so confident. If he relies on himself to find money, he can get nearly $10,000 even if he is exhausted, but for Sujmoda and others, this is just a matter of acting like a spoiled child to their fathers. Therefore, Owen had already placed this task on Suja and the others. As for whether this was a bit embarrassing, come on. This is America. No matter what method you use, as long as you can find the money, it is a manifestation of ability. Great. Mary was really happy for Owen, and then asked, "By the way, you are going to let Becca be in charge of the arrangement, so what about the dance teacher you mentioned?" P.S. Thanks to Dear How, Vidiri, and 3:42 in the morning for the tips. Chapter 45 Cousin. Mygia's house. I heard from Owen that he will introduce a dance teacher to us today. Do you know who he will invite? I don't know. Owen is always like this, so secretive. It's annoying. Then why are you still joining the Eternal Spear Choir? Humph. I only agreed reluctantly because Owen begged me again and again. Tisk. I'm afraid you knelt down and begged. What did you say? Okay, stop arguing. Are you annoying? What do you care about me? 3 girls are a play, and 12 girls are a TV series. Those who can be selected for the Eternal Spear Choir are all beautiful and have good figures. They are usually proud princesses, so naturally no one will submit to anyone else. Pa. Girls, be quiet. Mary clapped her hands with a headache and persuaded, Owen has come with a dance teacher, everyone, stop arguing. Dong dong dong. As soon as the voice fell, there was a knock on the door. Under the gazes of the 12 girls, Mary shook her head and went to open the door. Standing at the door were Owen and a young woman in her 20s, wearing a tight black skirt that outlined her tight and plump figure. Teacher Mygia, this is Tiffany Lawrence, the dance teacher I invited. Tiffany, this is. Owen was about to introduce her when he was interrupted by Tiffany. I know, Mary Mygia. Hello Tiffany. Mary was slightly startled and greeted Tiffany awkwardly. Hey, you know each other? Owen asked in surprise. Of course. Tiffany said without hiding anything, remember the female teacher I told you about? Holy shit. Owen couldn't help but swear, and then his eyes swept back and forth between Tiffany and Mary. Teacher Mygia, it's you, this is really great. Ahem. Mary glared at Owen in shame and annoyance, and coughed. Owen, Tiffany, you come in first, the girls are still waiting there. Okay. Owen walked in with a brilliant smile on his face. He wants to do unspeakable things to us, you know. Tiffany, who was behind, said very directly. Ahem. Mary coughed again and whispered, Tiffany, don't say this kind of thing in public. Why? Tiffany looked puzzled. Mary was speechless for a while, and wanted to explain, but she was afraid that Tiffany would ask a more embarrassing question. She really regretted why she was impulsive after drinking and went crazy with Tiffany, who had mental problems. Teammate, this is Tiffany Lawrence, she will be our dance teacher, welcome everyone. Owen walked in front of the 12 golden hairpins, clapped his hands and laughed. Cousin. At this time, Beth Cooper and the 12 golden hairpins shouted in shock. Beth? Tiffany smiled and greeted. Beth, Tiffany is your cousin. Owen was shocked again. Yes. Beth Cooper forced a smile and said, she is my big cousin. In English, there is no distinction between older and younger sisters and older and younger brothers. In order to distinguish, the word older is added in front. Tiffany is Beth's cousin, so she is the big cousin. Isn't she the widow whose police husband died? So it's her. I heard that she went crazy after her husband died. Oh, God. Now that I think about it, Owen is clearly the male version of Tiffany. It should be said that Tiffany is the female version of Irving. Except for Beth Cooper, all the 12 golden hairpins were talking about it. Tiffany's reputation was really too loud in this area. After her husband Tommy died unexpectedly, Tiffany was very sad. With this sadness, she chose to discuss profound human issues, moral decline, and human distortion with her colleagues in the office. The most important thing is to discuss with all colleagues, both men and women. After that, it was out of control. Men, for a young widow like Tiffany who has an excellent appearance and figure, have no resistance at all. Even Tommy's police colleagues mourn Tommy's death while trying to comfort Tiffany's inner pain. After a level, Tiffany completely became the most famous widow in the South District, and almost became a public enemy of women. But what makes Tiffany better than Owen is that she is not limited to men and women, so she eliminated a small part of the hostile personnel. Owen, why didn't you tell me in advance that your dance teacher is Tiffany? Mary leaned close to Owen's ear and complained. Owen smiled and asked back, Teacher my Gia, then why didn't you tell me that you once directed Tiffany to dance on your lap? That was because I was drunk. Mary explained embarrassedly. Owen chuckled, this doesn't look like the hot female teacher that Tiffany mentioned. Don't have any bad thoughts? Mary patted Owen on the shoulder and reminded him, Tiffany has mental problems. If something happens, it will be troublesome. Teacher my Gia, you are joking. Owen smiled brightly and purely, I'm just a student. How can I have any bad thoughts? Don't worry, Tiffany and I are very familiar with each other. I know what I can do and what I can't do. You. Mary shook her head and said, I know I can't convince you, but how did you know Tiffany? You wouldn't be like those men who heard of Tiffany's reputation and took the initiative to find her, right? Teacher my Gia, what are you thinking? Owen frowned and said, am I that kind of person? Mary looked at Owen without saying anything. Oh, really not. Owen sighed, it makes me cry when I talk about it. I'm also a victim. You know, I work part-time as a weed cutter on Wisteria Lane. One time, I was riding a bicycle past Tiffany's house. It was already dark then. She suddenly jumped out, and I fell over. Before I could get up, she grabbed my left foot and dragged me into her cabin. Mary glanced at him and sneered, is your reputation as a kung fu boy fake? Don't tell me you can't resist. That's not the case. Owen smiled embarrassedly, I wanted to fight back at the time, but then I was dazzled by the street light and saw her face. It was a face of despair, sadness, and loss. Then I looked at her whole body, hunched, swollen, and numb. I was shocked at the time. I thought she was a good woman from a decent family. She must have been hit too many times, so I softened my heart and couldn't resist for a moment. I was afraid of hurting her, so I risked getting hurt and didn't move, letting her drag me. Cyrillic letter deck, Mary said speechlessly, Owen, you are really a genius. You are obviously attracted by Tiffany's beauty and figure, but you can explain it this way. You are really good. Chapter 46 Back to School Season. A day in heaven is like a year on earth. Interesting days always pass by so fast. In the blink of an eye, the 3-month summer vacation is over. North Shore Public High School. Students are returning to school one after another, and new students are entering the school. New direction choir practice room. Clap, clap, Clap. Classmates, how was your summer vacation? Will Schuster clapped his hands to attract everyone's attention. Very good. Just so. Nothing interesting. Everyone replied in unison. Rachel, how about you? Will glanced around and saw Rachel Berry was in high spirits and radiant, so he couldn't help but laugh and asked. Very good. When Rachel saw Will called her name, she stood up and walked to Will's side. Facing her teammates in the New Direction Choir, as the undisputed female lead singer, she raised her head and smiled. This is a new school year, and we must have a new beginning. Now we have a very good opportunity in front of us. What is it? Will was used to Rachel's dominance, so he asked in agreement. Homecoming dance. Rachel clasped her hands in front of her chest, her eyes shining, and said loudly, a summer vacation has passed. Our New Direction Choir lost Matt, and now we are missing a member, but this is also a good thing, because we can absorb some fresh blood. You have never seen the performance of the Adrenal Choir live before, and you cannot feel their strength. In order to defeat them, we must absorb enough talented members to strengthen us. Until now, the atmosphere in the school is still very unfriendly to us. Teacher Schuster posted the registration form, but still no one signed up, so we need to take the initiative to attract them. The homecoming dance in 5 days will be a good stage. In the next few days, we need to carefully prepare a song and dance, and then we will use our enthusiasm and the infectiousness of music to shock everyone, so that those talented potential members can't help but follow our beat and take the initiative to join us. That's great. Will clapped his hands and praised, classmates, we must be more proactive. This year's national competition will be held in New York. Did you hear it? New York. It's the Temple of Music. But the Spear of Eternity Choir will also participate, right? Wouldn't it be bad for us to stand on the same stage with them in advance? Yet, I always have a bad feeling. It was said before that the Spear of Eternity Choir could not be formed at all, but what happened? They successfully gathered 12 beauties, which is almost a miracle. Yes, you may not have seen the scene of 12 beauties standing together. Just standing there is intoxicating, not to mention that they were all selected from auditions, and each of them has great musical talent. Oh, God! Against them, we have already lost half the battle before the competition even starts. Someone brought it up, and many people began to agree. Will felt heavy in his heart when he saw this scene, but he had to show an indifferent attitude on the surface. He was the instructor of the New Direction Choir. If he backed down, the students in the choir would probably have no confidence at all. Classmates, don't be discouraged, believe in yourself. On the stage of music, appearance is not important at all, even voice is not the most important thing. What is the most important thing? It is emotion. It is the emotion filled in the songs and dances. It is the initial touch when singing. This is something they can never compare to. If they really have this strong and passionate initial touch, then they would have come to join the New Direction Choir like you. But they didn't come, which proves that they are not as good as you. Facing a group of novices who are not as good as you, are you all going to admit defeat? No. We will defeat them. Everyone gulped down a big bowl of chicken soup, and shouted excitedly. Teammates. Rachel clapped her hands and became the center of attention again. Mr. Schuster said it very well, and I have a good news to tell you. What good news? Everyone looked at Rachel in surprise. Rachel paused for several seconds, and scanned everyone with her eyes 2 or 3 times to make sure that everyone was staring at her. Then she said excitedly, the good news I want to tell you is, the Eternal Spear Choir is no match for us at all. What do you mean? Rachel, how do you know? Did Owen tell you? The last question was asked by Quinn. No. Rachel was startled, glanced at Quinn who seemed to be smiling, pulled Finn over, stood side by side, and announced, this is the result of my investigation with Finn. Finn, you tell them. Okay. Finn patted Rachel's hand and said to everyone with a smile, Rachel was very worried about the strength of the Eternal Spear Choir, so when she learned that they were training at teacher Maijia's house, Rachel pulled me over to secretly observe their strength. What was the result? What did you see? The bad boy Noah Puckerman asked repeatedly in a somewhat inappropriate manner. Everyone looked at him speechlessly. Haha, sorry, Finn, you continue. Noah smiled awkwardly. Very bad. Finn said affirmatively, they couldn't even sing a song. Some of them were fighting over the lyrics, and some forgot the lyrics. The scene was really a mess. Later, Owen was angry and directly announced the end of the joint practice. Not only that, Rachel suppressed her excitement and said, Finn and I persisted for a month, secretly observing them every day, and in the end they really gave up, but I'm not surprised at this result. Why? Everyone was puzzled. I know. Quinn smiled faintly. Each of them is a proud princess, and they have never obeyed others. If the choir can't get along, even if each of them sings as well as Madonna and Britney Spears, they will just be noise when they are together. That's it. Rachel was as enthusiastic as ever, and she was in high spirits while speaking. When they get together, they are as noisy as 500 ducks. No one is convinced by anyone. With such an opponent, what reason do we have to lose to them? Great. What good news. If that's the case, we should defeat them as soon as possible and let them know that our New Direction Choir is the hope of North Shore High School. I have a question. When everyone was excited and their morale was high, a discordant voice rang out. Noah, you say. Rachel waved her hand reservedly, as if she regarded herself as the absolute center. What is the address of Teacher Mai Jia's home? P.S. Thank you for the rewards from Junlin Xiangsha, Speedo, and Fixu Ziguang. Chapter 47 Beauty is Justice. Weekend. Homecoming dance. Most of the students of North Shore Public High School dressed up for the event. For girls, it was a moment to show off their charm, and for boys, it was a chance to date girls. After couples of men and women walked into the auditorium, the rest were singles with hazy eyes. Okay. We're about to go on stage. This time we must show our best side in front of everyone. Rachel Berry took a deep breath and gestured to remind her companions. Classmates, come on. Will Schuster clapped his hands and said, You are the best. Come on. X 12 inches ladies and gentlemen, now please invite the New Direction Choir to perform for us. Wannabe. The host elected by the Students' Union dragged his voice. On normal days, with the popularity of the New Direction Choir in North Shore Public High School, it would have been booed at this moment, but today was the homecoming dance, and everyone was dressed in suits and dresses, looking more reserved and solemn than usual. Ha 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 ha, yo, I'll tell you what I really want, so tell me what you really want. I wanna ha, I wanna ha, I wanna ha, I wanna ha, I wanna really wanna zigga sigga. Poof. Owen, who was waiting backstage, sprayed out a mouthful of salt soda when he heard the song coming from the front desk, because this classic wannabe reminded Owen instantly of when Bernadette participated in the Miss State pageant, dressed like a doll and rapped about all kinds of really want. What's wrong? The 12 golden hairpins spoke in unison. Ahem. Owen coughed lightly. After listening to the song of the New Direction Choir, I knew we would win. This is the first appearance of our Eternal Spear Choir, and it will definitely be a great success. Of course. We worked so hard, how could we lose to those losers? Regina. Owen frowned unhappily. He didn't like to hear people calling others losers at every turn. Okay. Regina shrugged. After 3 months of special training, she already had a strong sense of identity with Owen's authority. Ladies and gentlemen, now please welcome the Eternal Spear Choir. They are bringing Teenage Dream. Facing the New Direction Choir leaving the stage, Owen and others officially took the stage. You think I'm pretty without any makeup on? You think I'm funny when I tell the punchline wrong? I know you get me. The first to appear was Karen Jackson. As the only soul singer who could get through the dolphin sound in Owen's tuning, she was the well-deserved first female lead singer of the Eternal Spear Choir besides Owen. Wow. Is this Karen Jackson? Oh, my God. She is so beautiful. After carefully dressing up, Karen perfectly combined her pure appearance with her beautiful temperament. After 3 months of dance training, her steps on the stage also looked agile and natural, which really amazed everyone. So I let my walls come down before you met me, accompanied by the song. The second Karen trembled on the stage. Holy shit. Be careful, lean back, pay attention to the center of gravity. Compared with Karen Jackson's beautiful temperament, Karen Smith is a walking hormone. Both of them have pure appearance, but the feeling they give people is completely different. Will Schuster and the audience looked around and saw that most of the boys were angry and shouting. Some of the singles standing in the back row without seats simply stared at the trembling on the stage with nosebleeds, and their faces turned pale. He still underestimated the influence of appearance on people. What initial touch, how can it compete with the initial hormones? I was a wreck, but things were kinda heavy. You brought me to life. The third person to appear was Regina George. As the queen of the youth royal family, her popularity in North Shore Public High School was at its peak. When she appeared on stage and waved her hand, almost all the students responded enthusiastically, just like a superstar opening a concert. If Regina had joined the New Direction Choir, her popularity would definitely plummet, because the New Direction Choir is full of the school's weirdos and losers. Once the students linked Regina with this, there was no doubt that the throne would collapse. But Regina joined the Eternal Spear Choir, which was formed by Owen, the dolphin lover and the king of the school grass. It gathered all the beauties in North Shore Public High School and selected 12 members with both talent and beauty. As Sue Sylvester said, a club like New Direction, where anyone can join, has no appeal at all. Only after a lot of elimination and selection can it show its value. Once it has value, students will rush in like crazy, hoping to join. This is the siphon effect. The members of the Eternal Spear Choir are all winners of the siphon effect, so not only did their popularity not decrease, but their popularity soared. Without this advantage, even if Owen really devoted himself to the cause until his death, he would not be able to convince the 12 golden hairpins. Well, at least Regina, a natural queen bee, would not kneel down and surrender. Now every February you'll be my Valentine. Valentine after Regina, it was Gretchen Venus. As a Latin beauty, her face was very different from the first 3 blonde beauties. Her exquisite curly hair brought a different kind of beauty to everyone. Moreover, she had a great figure. The trembling degree when she went on stage was second only to Karen Smith, which made many boys bow and gasp. Let's go all the way tonight, no regrets, just love. The 5th person to appear as Sujimoto. In the original Time and Space, as the daughter of a wealthy family, she always regarded her singing as the sound of nature, but everyone in the New Direction Choir told the truth. In anger, she asked her father to spend a lot of money to invite the instructor of the Adrenal Choir to form a new choir with her as the lead singer. Under the supreme law of Franklin, everything is unimpeded. In this Time and Space, as a member of North Shore Public High School, Sujimoto naturally cannot escape Owen's inspirational ex-girlfriend. Owen is also a legendary tuner. Sujimoto's voice is naturally no longer as bad as in the original Time and Space. Compared with Karen Jackson, it may be far inferior, but mixed with other people, there is still not much difference. Coupled with the addition of beauty and wealth, her charm also caused a sensation in the audience. Don't think that only the other side of the ocean has the story of poor scholars and rich ladies. In America, if ordinary people have the opportunity to be with a rich woman like Sujimoto, they will definitely be much crazier than the poor scholars on the other side of the ocean in ancient times. Just kidding, you can get both money and people, and save half a lifetime or even countless lifetimes of struggle. In this country where Franklin's law is rampant, the poor scholars on the other side of the ocean in ancient times may be reserved, pay attention to the impact, and maintain their face, but there is no need here. The winner is the king and the loser is the bandit. P.S. Thanks to Quetzalcoatl 13 for the reward. Chapter 48 Supreme Conductor. North Shore Public High School. The homecoming dance is still going on. How could this happen? At the edge of the stage, the New Direction Choir collectively watched the stunning appearance of the Eternal Spear Choir. Rachel Berry held her boyfriend Finn's arm tightly with her hands, and murmured with a pale face, "How could they perform so well?" "Don't worry." Finn reluctantly comforted, "They are talented, and it is normal for them to perform well in solo performances, but the choir still focuses on the chorus, and they definitely can't do it." "Yes, yes." Rachel was shocked and nodded repeatedly, as if she was sure and expectant. "We can dance, until we die. You and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream." The 6th person to appear was Becca Mitchell. Although she was short, her delicate facial features and a unique temperament of stubbornness and self-reliance still made people shine. As the arranger of the Eternal Spear Choir, Becca sang loudly and infectiously. "The way you turn me on, I can't sleep, let's run away, and don't ever look back, don't ever look back." The next to appear were 3 best friends, Vicky Larson, Jessica Lyon and Heather Sivery. A few months ago, the 3 of them listened to Karen Jackson's Dolphin Laughing one night at the Scholars Party and fell deeply in love with this kind of happy music. They all participated in the competition. Fortunately, all of them advanced. Now they can finally sing the taste of happiness in their hearts. "My heart stops when you look at me, just one touch." Then, another typical blonde beauty came out with a sweet smile on her face. It's the school beauty. Beth Cooper, "I love you." A boy in the audience shouted excitedly. "Now baby, I believe this is real, so take a chance and don't ever look back, don't ever look back." Another girl came out, exuding a strong temperament of indifference. It's Juno. She also joined the Eternal Spear Choir. I never expected that. Juno always makes people feel weird. But I suddenly think she's quite attractive. Yet, everyone was talking about it. Although Juno was outstanding in appearance, she was always a very strange image in the eyes of everyone, because she was the first girl who took the initiative to pursue a boy, got pregnant, and then chose to give birth in high school. It shocked everyone at the time. It was the beginning of Juno that gave Quinn the courage to choose to give birth. We drove to Cali and got drunk on the beach, got a motel and built a fort out of sheets. The last girl came on stage. She was holding a music baton and singing while conducting with the gestures of a music conductor. This is Iris Kebbel. The conductor of the school instrumental ensemble. I didn't expect her to join. Someone recognized Iris. At this moment, the 12 golden hairpins all looked at the backstage where they were going to appear. The melody became extremely passionate and exciting at this moment. I finally found you, my missing puzzle piece. I'm complete. Let's go all the way tonight. No regrets. Just love. Owen made a brilliant appearance with the 12 golden hairpins as a backdrop. Huh? Will Schuster in the audience let out a surprised sound. Although Owen's singing was not very good, it was not too bad either. It was a far cry from the state when he auditioned in front of him. Is this Owen Lee? How did his singing suddenly improve so much? The members of the New Direction Choir who were watching at the edge of the stage were also surprised. Rachel's face became even worse. She tightly grasped Finn's arm with such force that Finn, the big captain of the football team, could not bear it. It's time to sing in chorus. They definitely can't do it, definitely not. We can dance, until we die. You and I will be young forever. You make me feel like I'm living a teenage dream, the way you turn me on. As the New Direction Choir watched with bated breath, Owen raised the corner of his mouth, took the music baton from Iris, pointed at Regina, and Regina started singing and dancing at the same time. Owen did the same, pointing and dancing freely. Whenever Owen pointed at someone with his music baton, the girl would respond almost instinctively, singing or dancing, or singing or dancing. The tacit understanding of cooperation was simply indescribable. This was not about not being able to sing in chorus. This was simply the highest art of conducting. Everyone in the audience was completely stunned by the supreme artistic performance of the Eternal Spear Choir. After 3 minutes, some people came back to their senses and took a breath of cold air. The sound of inhalation suddenly rose and fell. Oh, my God. I always heard people talk about what art is and what the shock and appeal of art is. I never believed it, but now I want to say that this is definitely real art, with real shock and appeal. Oh my God, it's so shocking. If only I could switch with Owen. Watching him waving the music baton, the 12 girls of the Eternal Spear Choir performed various songs and dances. It was. Just when some people were shocked and incoherent, the members of the New Direction Choir looked ashen, and only the bad boy Noah Parkman looked at the 12 golden hairpins on the stage with shining eyes, muttering in his heart, "Oh, God, please give me a dozen of such combinations. Why did I only like to unclog sewers before? This is the real charm. This is impossible. How did they do it?" Rachel said with lifeless eyes, "Such a difficult dance, such a difficult coordination. How can these proud princesses coordinate so perfectly? It's impossible, impossible." Quinn stared at the music baton in Owen's hand for a long time, and suddenly sighed softly. Rachel didn't understand, but she did, because when Owen waved the music baton in his hand, she subconsciously wanted to sing and dance. We succeeded. We are the brightest stars. Great. The 12 golden hairpins looked at the reactions of the crowd in surprise. The joy of success made them truly feel a sense of identity and belonging to the Eternal Spear Choir. Iris, thank you very much. Owen stood in the middle of the 12 golden hairpins, led the 12 golden hairpins to take a bow, and then handed the music baton to Iris backstage and thanked her sincerely. You're welcome. Iris looked at Owen with admiration. Owen, you are the most worthy supreme conductor. Compared with you, the conducting I practiced hard before was really weak. I am very happy to be a guide and witness, so that the history of music conductors has added a supreme legend like you. Owen sighed sincerely. Everything depends on everyone's efforts and cooperation. This is the truth. If it weren't for thousands of times of one-on-one training, allowing the 12 golden hairpins to penetrate and touch their souls and neurons from the outside to the inside, forming an instinct that is almost a conditioned reflex, where would this shocking and hearty chorus appear? Owen made the 12 golden hairpins, And the 12 golden hairpins also made Owen. P.S. Thank you for the black squares reward. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49, Really? Genius. North Shore Public High School. Oh. In the audience, Sue Sylvester glanced at the stunned Will Schuster, shrugged and sneered as usual. Although I don't want to say this, this is art. Your new direction choir is just a pile of garbage compared to this. This time, Will was powerless to refute. The shocking performance of the Eternal Spear Choir has such a great impact on ordinary people, let alone a professional art practitioner like him. The more he knows, the greater the shock. This is definitely not a third-rate amateur performance in a public high school, but a professional-level choir that can perform formally in the Broadway Theater in New York. But more than 3 months ago, he denied them. As a teacher who deeply loves education and music, shame kept surging in his heart, and he began to doubt himself. Am I still an excellent teacher? Am I still a qualified teacher? Will, cheer up. Emma Pierceberry supported Will as always. Owen and the others are already in the 12th grade. They can only sing for this class. We still have a chance next year. Yes. Mary Mickle was sitting on the side and laughed in agreement. Actually, Owen and the others have no intention of targeting you. He just wants to defeat the Adrenal Choir in his own way. Yes. Emma's eyes lit up. Actually, this is not a bad thing. With the super strength shown by the Eternal Spear Choir, they will definitely win the national championship. By then, the school will have no reason to cancel the choir. Even within 10 years, the choir can exist well in North Shore Public High School. Isn't that what you expected? That's true. Will was shocked and forced a smile, saying, anyway, the best result is that North Shore High School's art group continues to exist. Besides, we can defend the national championship next year after the Eternal Spear Choir. Bullshit. Sue Sylvester sneered. I believe that the Eternal Spear Choir can win the national championship because they have the temperament of a successful person, but you, the New Direction Choir, humph. The two sides parted unhappily. Backstage. Sisters. Regina clapped her hands and said, we are very successful tonight, and we should have a grand party to celebrate. I have already prepared it in advance. How about we go to my house now? Go to my house. Suja interrupted. My dad has also prepared a party to celebrate for me. Go to my house. Go to my house. The two refused to give in and started to fight again. Regina, sugar, we should listen to Owen on this matter. Becca advised, he is the protagonist of our Eternal Choir. Without him, can we have such brilliant success? Regina and Sugar looked at each other, and each took a step back and said, Becca is right, Owen is the protagonist and conductor of our Eternal Spear Choir. We should all listen to the music conductor, right? Sisters, I have a bold idea. Karen Jackson licked her lips and laughed so hard that people's hearts were pounding. What bold idea? The golden hairpins were very curious, and even Owen looked over. Don't you think that tonight's performance was not only a great success, but also made us feel unprecedented joy? Karen Jackson said with a smile, why don't we hold another one? Yes. Karen Smith nodded 3 times and said sweetly, just now on the stage, under the direction of Owen's music baton, I sang and danced. I was so happy. Not bad. The other golden hairpins recalled the feeling on the stage before, and nodded in agreement. Just now it was an extreme and pure happiness. Karen, tell me in detail. Becca said. Okay. Karen winked at Owen and said with a smile, since everyone agrees that the performance just now was an extreme and pure joy, and everyone likes this kind of performance, why don't we hold a separate one to thank Owen for everything he has done for us? Ah, you mean? Regina was so smart that she immediately understood the unsaid meaning in Karen's words. She looked at Karen in amazement and was shocked by her bold idea. She thought to herself, she is worthy of the famous Karen Jackson. I am not as good as her. Owen suppressed his excitement and refused reservedly, it's not good, and there is no suitable venue. That's easy. Karen Jackson chuckled, we can choose Regina's house. Her mother is easy to talk to. I believe she won't disturb us, right, Regina? Yes. Regina nodded hesitantly, my mom and dad are divorced, and now my mom is the boss of the family, but this is too. To what? Karen interrupted, Aren't you grateful for everything Owen has done for you? Don't you want to take a step further and shine on the stage of the Broadway Theater in New York? You know, with our current level, we have surpassed the average professional choir and have a good chance of entering the entertainment industry and becoming a star. But it doesn't have to be like this, right? Gretchen murmured. People have a herd mentality, especially in this special girl group. With a bold member like Karen constantly instigating, others can only half-heartedly agree even if they are psychologically opposed. One night of singing. The tacit understanding of the Eternal Spear Choir has reached a higher level. Half a year later. March 1994. In extreme exhaustion and happiness, Owen entered the new year. System, show the attribute panel. Yes, master. The American drama system agreed, and the attribute panel appeared in Owen's consciousness. Existence points. 32 foot 5 plus 12 2-1 equals 50 points, negative pole. 452, 122 equals 428, driver cards. 5, Becca Mitchell, Juno, Mary, Tiffany Lawrence, Gabriel Solis, intelligence, LV4 strength, LV2 speed, LV2 endurance, LV2 plus energy release, LV1 combat skills, LV4 skill list, skill 1, eternal surplus gun. Owen frowned and said, System, can we call up this year's existence points in advance? Yes. American TV series System, the master has a very solid friendship with the lucky protagonist Sheldon Lee Cooper and Leonard Rich Hofstadter, and can withdraw them in advance. Owen nodded and said, refresh. Yes, master. Existence points. 50 plus 12 2-1 equals 73 points, negative pole. 428-12 2 equals 404, Owen ordered, increase intelligence to LV5. American TV series System, to improve intelligence to level 5, 50 existence points will be consumed. Are you sure? Sure. Confirm the exchange. The exchange is successful. Please check it. As soon as the words fell, a mysterious feeling flashed through Owen's mind. Many problems that he had not figured out before were now clear one by one. This was the feeling of a true genius. Chapter 50 American College Entrance Examination. 1994, March. First Saturday. University of Chicago. As a world-renowned private research university, it is always ranked in the top 10 of various university rankings in the world. The main campus is located in the Hyde Park area in the south of Chicago, east of Jackson Park and west of Washington Park, 11 kilometers from downtown Chicago. The University of Chicago's economics is ranked first in the world all year round, and mathematics is also ranked in the top 5 in the United States. There have been 9 Fields Medal winners, the highest award in mathematics, the Nobel Prize in Mathematics, Fermi, Andrei Weil, Vladimir Drinfeld, and of course, Chen Shen and other famous mathematicians, all taught at the University of Chicago. This is also the SAT test site in Chicago. Katie, don't be nervous. Seeing Katie and Helen nervously following him on the campus of the University of Chicago, Owen comforted them like an experienced person. It's just an SAT test. There are 7 such tests every year. If you are not satisfied with the results, you can always take it again. Anyway, when applying for college, we can use the best SAT score as the application material. I know. Katie nodded and took a deep breath. Everyone understands the truth, but when it comes to facing it, it still depends on the individual's psychological quality. Owen, I heard you mention that you have already taken the SAT and got a high score, which should be enough to guarantee your application to any university. Why are you taking the test now? Yes. Owen nodded and smiled. I took the test once before. SAT 1, 2,222 points. SAT 2, Math II 790 points. Physics 720 points. I feel that I have made great progress in physics recently, so I want to improve my physics score. SAT is the abbreviation of Scholastic Assessment Test. In fact, it is the college entrance examination in the United States and the basic score for American high school students to apply for universities. Although the American education sector has always claimed to comprehensively examine every student who applies, each university has tens of thousands of applicants every year. The more famous the university, the more applicants there are. If it is strictly done as advertised, it will take several hours to review a student. With so many applicants, the school will not be able to handle it even if it hires more people. Therefore, the SAT score is the best initial screening condition. If you can't even meet the SAT standard, you can't enter the university to apply for the next round. SAT is divided into SAT 1 and SAT 2. SAT 1 is a general test, including reading, writing, and mathematics. Each part has a full score of 800 points, a total of 2,400 points, which is also the SAT in the general sense. SAT 2 is a single subject test, which is generally required by key and top universities to provide scores. For example, if Owen plans to study mathematics in the future, he must take the single subject mathematics test again, and the single subject mathematics is divided into Mathematics 1 and Mathematics 2. In terms of difficulty, the mathematics in SAT 1 is the easiest. At the level of the college entrance examination, the single subject Mathematics 1 is somewhat difficult, at the level of the regular college entrance examination, and the single subject Mathematics 2 is quite difficult, at the level of the quasi-Olympiad. SAT 2 generally requires 3 single subject tests, but most of the key and top universities only require applicants to provide 2 single subject scores. Owen chose mathematics and physics, and the full score is still 800 points. The single subject Mathematics 2 score of 790 is already very impressive, and there is not much meaning in improving it. However, the single subject physics score of 720 is still outstanding with Owen's current LV5 genius intelligence. Owen, which university are you going to apply to? Princeton University. Katie asked casually. Princeton University is also a world-renowned private research university located in New Jersey. It is one of the famous Ivy League schools. Leonard will study for his undergraduate, master's and doctoral degrees in this university. Even Princeton High School, where Leonard graduated now, is also an affiliated high school of Princeton University. Einstein, von Neumann, Hu Luogen, Chen Xingshen, Li Sungdao, Yang Zhuning and other great mathematicians and scientists have taught here. But what impressed Owen the most was that Princeton University is a must-go place for all kinds of time travel, rebirth, and system flow tyrants to show off. The most famous ones are the demon tyrant Lu, the black technology tyrant Lu. Facts have proved that it makes sense for people to choose to show off here. The Department of Mathematics at Princeton University is indeed the most awesome in the world of mathematics. At the beginning of the Big Bang Theory, Penny thought Sheldon was a genius like the one in A Beautiful Mind, and Sheldon happily recognized her. The male protagonist, the famous game theory master John Nash, is a professor of mathematics at Princeton University and one of the prototypes of Sheldon. Because of the biography and the movie, the ordinary American people, those who are more educated than Penny, also have a very high degree of recognition for the Department of Mathematics at Princeton University, so that the first thing Katie thought of was that Owen was going to apply for this university. No. Owen shook his head and smiled. I'm not going to apply for Princeton University. The competition in the mathematics department there is too fierce. With my ability, it's no problem to get admitted, but it's too difficult to apply for a full scholarship. In fact, the real reason is that Leonard is at Princeton University. Once Owen and Leonard become alumni, the risk of interfering with the Big Bang Theory 7 will increase exponentially, which Owen cannot accept. That's true. Katie nodded in agreement. None of them mentioned why they tried so hard to apply for a full scholarship, because there was no need. Everyone knew that studying in the United States, especially at a top private research university, is very expensive. The annual tuition fee is as high as more than $40,000, and there are also accommodation fees, living expenses and other miscellaneous expenses, which are more than $10,000 to $20,000 a year. The average middle class can't afford it. Take Leonard as an example. Nearly 10 years after he graduated with a doctorate, he was still burdened with loans from his college years. When he found out that Penny was working in sales and easily earned more than twice his salary, and there was a financial manager who helped with financial management, his face was distorted with extreme sourness, thinking that making missiles is not as good as selling tea eggs. With Leonard's IQ of 173, the system determined that his intelligence was level 5, he did not get a full scholarship at Princeton University, which shows how fierce the competition at Princeton University is. My first choice is to apply to the University of Chicago. Owen continued, I will also apply to other universities such as Harvard University, New York University, and Stanford University. In the United States, students applying to universities and universities admitting students are two-way choices. Every student can freely choose to apply to multiple universities. Some more powerful students will get offers from several top universities before making the final choice. University of Chicago. Katie looked at Owen in surprise and said with a complicated expression, "Why choose the University of Chicago?" Her first choice was also the University of Chicago. On the one hand, the mathematics department of the University of Chicago is also very strong. On the other hand, her mother is a tenured professor at the University of Chicago. The power of connections is universal all over the world. P.S. Thank you for the reward from Master Bai. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.